This episode begins with a massive dragon appearing before a masked hero. The princess tells him, "Finally, you've defeated the Lord of Darkness." The dragon starts to wreak havoc, but the superhero named Sanraku takes action and defeats it. The princess thanks him and says, "Thanks to you, Sanraku, you've saved me. It was a long and incredibly challenging journey, wasn't it?" Sanraku responds, "Yes, it was indeed. I've been waiting a long time for this moment, my dear Princess Viaria." He then leaps away, telling her, "Now you can go to hell with the Lord of Darkness," and kicks her forcefully in the face. In reality, our superhero celebrates the successful completion of the game, saying, "I finally got my revenge for what you made me do." In this era, 3D games and virtual reality games have become more immersive in the gaming world, known as the simulation environment. However, many games in this category fall short in terms of graphics technology, earning them the title of trash games. Our hero, Sanraku, seems to enjoy playing such games. This boy is named Rakurou, and he has just completed this game, feeling a great sense of freedom. This is what those sentenced to serve their time feel after completing their sentence. Well, now, what new game should I try next? Rakurou considers himself a connoisseur of garbage games. The next morning, Rakurou goes to school, feeling sleepy and strolling around the classroom. We find a girl who wants to talk to him and waits to express her admiration for him. When she starts talking to him, his friend arrives and talks to him, making it impossible for him to pay attention to her. They start conversing, leaving her behind. After a moment, she decides to approach him again. Later, we find this girl named Mana, who owns a game shop called Rock and Roll. She puts a sticker on Rakurou's bag and says that summer vacation will start tomorrow. She bets that this sticker and the new game will attract some customers. Afterwards, Rei, the girl we talked about earlier, goes to Mana while on her way from practice. She starts looking for the boy she had a crush on, but she tells her that he hasn't shown up today either. Rei says, "No, I just came to check out the games." Mana replies, "I know you better than that. You're much luckier than you pretend to be, young and in love." Rei explains that he's been trying to finish some of the trash games lately, so he hasn't been around for a while. Then she shows him the latest game she bought, telling him it might take him a while to finish it. She mentions that it has AI companions and enemy attack patterns that are ridiculously easy, and she chose a difficulty level higher than anyone can imagine. She's heard that it requires high-level skills to defeat the final boss. This leads to many players throwing their headphones in frustration. To top it off, to defeat the final boss, you have to wear swim trunks and a mask, which puzzles Rei. She speculates that it might have something to do with effectiveness or youth or something like that. Then she asks Rei if she's made any progress in her studies. As she responds, the handsome guy she had been looking for arrives, knocking on the door and asking, "Do you have any new game releases, Mana-san?" She comments on how much time has passed and how she's no longer infatuated. He asks if she finished the last game so quickly, and she replies that she did because it was just trash. She mentions that the main heroine was the biggest trash in it. The girl who had been infatuated with him listens from behind, still enamored with his words. He continues, saying that the problem with the game was the princess. She made everything worse, killing villagers and group members without facing any consequences. He also mentions that she seemed to be aware of all the events happening in the game and would get angry if you showed her any disrespect. It would take her 3 whole hours to reconcile with her. Rei interrupts and says that she's surprised he didn't give up. He explains that in those 3 minutes between defeating the final boss and finishing the game, it was like a cinematic scene where you could beat Viaria to a pulp without any fear of retaliation. It was absurdly amusing, and it made those 3 minutes worthwhile. She says she's glad he enjoyed the game, and the infatuated girl continues to listen to him intently. At this point, Mana suggests to him, "Why don't you try something other than trash games? Why not try this VR game that's designed to please the audience from time to time?" She winks at the girl who's still listening. Our hero is now excited about the new game and takes it home. At home, he begins to analyze the game, noting that it was released in the spring of the past year and broke a Guinness World Record for the number of player logins. He describes the game's concept as an alien colonization fleet that arrives from space, with the twist that they don't die, but leave behind a new society after thousands of years. Players live their lives in this virtual world, with levels of technology ranging from the Middle Ages to advanced science fiction elements. This game is so beloved that the few who dislike it are overshadowed by tens of thousands of fans. Our hero eagerly starts up the game, immersing himself in this legendary virtual world. He prepares himself, putting on his headphones and saying, "How long has it been since I played a game like this?" Our hero begins to play this thrilling, legendary game, excited about what awaits him in the upcoming exciting events. He immerses himself in this virtual world filled with adventures and challenges, and we are eager to see what unfolds next. Don't forget to like and activate the notification bell if you want to stay updated and support me even more. Then our hero proceeds to enter the game. However, he must choose his character class first. He selects the role of a mercenary named Sivan, a wandering swordsman with remarkable talent. Sivan's unique ability is his slow but steady bodybuilding process, gaining many enhancements over time. Luck plays a significant role in Sivan's abilities, affecting critical hit chances and item drops in the game, making it the perfect choice for Rakurou. Next, Rakurou customizes his character, choosing ethnicity, body type, color, and hair length. Rakurou is incredibly enthusiastic about this thrilling game. In the end, he chooses a powerful, muscular body with a comically oversized bird-like head, a character that doesn't enjoy humor but ignores armor for the best possible weapons. This game allows you to sell your starting equipment during character creation, potentially earning a substantial profit, about 3 times the base item price. With his character created, Rakurou hides his face and starts the game. Everything is now ready. As he lies on his bed, he begins to describe the game's setting. In ancient times, there were some mighty and powerful kings who ventured into another world and disappeared completely since then. We are the descendants of these kings. The scene transitions to Rakurou within the game, standing in a vast forest with bright sunshine and beautiful weather. He looks at his giant hands, and the movements are eerily lifelike, allowing him to run, climb trees, and reach high points effortlessly, resembling Tarzan. He gazes at the world from a mountaintop. Rakurou then checks his map to pinpoint his exact location. He plans to head east to the Wildwood, and in the west, there's the city of Freestia, a few kilometers away. As he prepares to move, suddenly, a goblin from the goblin race ambushes him with full force. Rakurou narrowly avoids the attack, demonstrating his quick reflexes. At this moment, Rakurou summons his cutting sword and decides to engage in combat with the goblin. The monster attempts to strike him in the neck, but Rakurou intercepts with his sword, splitting the goblin into 2 halves. The goblin disappears, leaving only its sword behind. Rakurou is delighted because he managed to defeat the goblin in a single strike. The goblin was just a weak early-game enemy. Rakurou's level increases to level 2, and he takes the goblin's sword as his own, even though he knows it won't last long due to its durability. Then, after that, he feels something behind the trees moving quickly. Rakurou turns to look at it, thinking about the weaknesses of monsters and patterns and how to throw his tools. This feeling comes to him in any game he plays, and now he's in the first-person game. At this moment, the deadly rabbit emerges and tries to attack Rakurou, but he manages to dodge the strike and throws the rabbit away. However, he reads on his assessment screen that if he is hit by a single strike from this rabbit, he will die. So he decides to gather his strength to kill it before it can do anything to him. Rakurou keeps delivering blows, but this rabbit remains unaffected by them. He understands that a single vital strike won't work against it. He decides to deliver his most powerful blow, and indeed, after that, he manages to kill the rabbit. Rakurou is thrilled with himself once again because he was able to kill the second monster, and thus his level increases from 2 to 4. Rakurou continues to search for this rabbit's weapon, as he is certain that it is extremely powerful. However, he finds nothing, but he notices on his assessment screen that he can learn different skills through specific actions. He has gained a new skill, which is blocking and counter-flashing. Rakurou is very happy with this game and says to himself that since the player's skill enhances evasion and blocking skills, he can now fight enemies at a higher level as well. This makes him want to try out various fighting styles. Then he is amazed that he has been playing without encountering any programming errors so far. Unlike other games where he often found many bugs, he is increasingly impressed because he has finally found a game without any errors. He is confident that he will enjoy it. At this point, he decides to go in search of a powerful kitchen knife that the strong rabbit might have. Afterward, we move him to another location in the forest where he finds a somewhat massive monster. He rushes towards it to kill it, and indeed, he manages to do so, raising his level to level 12. Now he must allocate his points. He had been hoping to encounter a deadly rabbit again to further increase his level. This monster is exceptionally rare, as it took him a long time to obtain a matching set of knives. Since he defeated about 50 of these rabbits, it's expected that he will become much stronger. He looks at the knife with great joy. It's extremely rare and has better stats than the dual mercenary blades. He must take good care of it. He also gained some new skills, with the most useful one being the spiral penetration skill. When Rakurou finishes with this, he decides to leave this forest because its monsters are very weak. He wants to level up by facing stronger monsters elsewhere. He opens his special screen and realizes that he has drifted far from the primitive village. However, he is now closer to the friendly town of Secundil. He needs to cross the bridge over the valley to get there. The episode begins with this massive knight-like character, and everyone in the village looks at them in amazement. They comment that this character is a symbol and is from a clan known for its achievements. However, they wonder what someone like this is doing in their small, remote village. The character, who appears to be a girl embodying the personality of this knight, starts speaking. She mentions hearing that Hizutome gives all his characters the same name, so she believes she'll be able to find him since it's impossible for a new player not to arrive in their village. Then, the girl wakes up, removes her gaming headset, and laments that she might have missed the person she was looking for and feels sad about it. Next, in this scene, we find Rakurou battling the giant snake. He starts by summoning his sword and says, "Let me enjoy this." He begins to attack the giant snake, dodging its attacks, and mentions that they should observe the snake's movement pattern to defeat it. He starts charging his energy to become faster and better able to evade the snake's attacks. He thinks to himself that he's still a leader for beginners and believes he can defeat the snake without taking any hits. However, to his surprise, his sword shatters after the first strike against the snake's tough skin. He then decides to summon powerful rabbit knives, saying that he has something he wants to try. He starts attacking the snake with the knives, but the snake spits venom at him, sending him flying far away. He realizes he's taking damage every 10 seconds due to the venom. Rakurou believes he might have underestimated the monster, but decides it's time to get serious. He mentions defeating much weaker game foes, and that the snake is nothing to him. He begins to deflect all of the snake's attacks and mentions that the venom inflicts 1 damage every 10 seconds. He calculates that he has only 4 minutes left to defeat the monster and knows he needs a reliable way to deal significant damage at the right moment. He notes that powerful attacks in the game don't activate randomly. They seem to occur when he attacks perfectly or hits the enemy's weak point. The weak point is covered by tough scales, making it difficult to hit, but he decides to create a weak point himself. Rakurou charges his dagger with lightning and starts penetrating the snake's skin. He successfully pierces the skin and exclaims that he'll deliver more blows to the same spot. He begins to attack the snake where he pierced it, causing the snake visible pain. Then he launches an attack on the dragon, one blow after another, but he doesn't know how many points this big dragon has. He leaps upwards with great hope of defeating this huge snake, speaking to himself that he can defeat this powerful thing without receiving any harm. And it's just a game. He won't die even if he is defeated. But at this moment, the snake swallows him. However, Senrako was very strong and managed to open the snake's mouth and escape. After that, he uses the anti-flash ability to deliver a powerful blow to the snake. At this time, he summons another sharp tool from his inventory and strikes the snake with a decisive blow, finally managing to defeat it after a fierce battle. His level rises to level 14, and he is very happy that he has defeated the snake. Then he finds some loot dropped by the snake, including snake scales and white snake hair. He realizes he can sell these items in the market and make a lot of money. When Senrako looks at the remaining time, he sees that time is running out. He is surprised, that such a large snake of this size didn't leave any other loot except two things. He keeps looking left and right, then uses a screen to check his points. After that, we see him running across a bridge, speaking to himself that he must buy a ticket when he arrives in the town. However, the big problem is that he doesn't know the shops and locations in the town, and this will require a lot of time. Senrako runs quickly but is very angry, shouting at the top of his voice saying, "Ah! Ah!" Then the scene shifts to this girl named Maya, and her friend Reggie is talking to her about taming monsters, specifically dogs, because Maya loves dogs a lot, and she is only allowed to tame pets. She pleads with Reggie to help her in this matter. At that time, the boy is surprised and very happy, speaking to himself that finally, after 3 months of trying, Maya is starting to play Shanfuro with him. Signs of excitement appear on his face as he talks to himself because he doesn't want to miss this great opportunity. Maya is puzzled by this, and when she asks him what's wrong, he turns to her and tells her that he's having a minor heart attack, but it's nothing serious. He then tells her not to use his real name because it's one of the game's rules not to use real names. She apologizes to him and tells him that she won't call him by his real name anymore, only by the name Reggie. After a while, both of them turned around and found Senrako running towards them at a great speed. At this moment, Maya thought a monster was approaching, and when she took out her bow and aimed it, Reggie told her to hold on, as it seems he is one of the players in the game. According to the rules of the game, if you kill a player or a character in the game, your fate will end up with a skull next to your name, and you will be banned from the game. When she asked him why he was running in this strange way, Reggie told her that he believed he was poisoned by the snake's venom. Then he called out to him and told him to hurry and pointed towards the white building at the end of the street. Reggie explained to his friend that he had encountered many cases like this, especially when they first started playing the game. Players who were poisoned by the snake had to reach the town in time. Finally, Senrako reaches the building and wants to spend a full night there so he can recover his main points. However, he gets very agitated with the receptionist and shouts at her loudly, demanding a bed to sleep in right away. He bangs his hand on the desk multiple times because he only has 1 life point left, so he must sleep now to regain his points. The receptionist tells him to go to room 102, and Senrako rushes there, breaking the door, and jumps onto the bed. At this time, his points start to replenish, but he can't celebrate because he lost the last point and dies immediately. He exits the game and is very happy with this beautiful game. He remembers the advice given to him in the game, especially by Reggie, and he wants to thank him again for the guidance. The scene then shifts to the town of Scond, a beautiful city in the pre-swamp area. Senrako strolls around the city, looking left and right, but he will need a map so he doesn't get lost. He also needs recovery items and new equipment, and he's looking for a powerful main weapon to replace his dual-bladed scythe. He wants to make the most of his effort in this exciting game and reach the top player rankings. At this time, people are looking at him with astonishment and ask who this half-naked bird-like man is. Suddenly, people mock him because he looks like he's naked and has a very frightening appearance, so he decides to buy some clothes first. He goes to a store and wants to buy the cheapest thing they have because his budget is limited. He wears these clothes for defense and to stop other players from treating him like a weirdo. After that, he sees a mask that comes with the outfit, but he decides not to wear it. Then he tries to sell the goblin's hand axe, but the shopkeeper makes fun of this item, considering it worthless. He tells Senrako that if he wants something better, he'll have to craft it himself and bring the materials. Senrako agrees and heads straight to the troubled swamp, a desolate area with a place for mining raw materials. However, when he arrives, he has no luck finding any valuable minerals despite digging for a while. He's frustrated because he needs 5 or 6 pieces to craft a new and good weapon, and he has only managed to find 2 pieces so far. Moreover, the swamp terrain makes it difficult to move around, and the heavy pickaxe he bought for mining is making things even more challenging. Suddenly, a frog appears and jumps next to him. The mud splatters all over his clothes, and the frog doesn't stop there. It deliberately makes the mud come onto his clothes. This infuriates him, and he strikes the frog with his pickaxe, delivering a powerful blow that hits it. The frog is injured and falls to the ground on its back. Senrako approaches to finish it off, but moving in the mud is exhausting and tiring. He informs us that his leather skin armor is made from the hide of a single frog and has high resistance, so it's likely that cutting attacks won't work on this frog. His only options are striking and stabbing attacks. He then uses his goblin's hand axe, which has a sharp blade, and delivers a blow with all his might as it connects with the frog. Suddenly, he becomes very annoyed by the length of this journey because he can't walk naturally in this swamp. The swamp significantly slows down the player's movements, and indeed, he goes to that frog, confident that it can't get up from its back. He strikes it instantly, killing it and obtaining the hide of a single frog effortlessly. Senrako then continues to gather materials, and more players start arriving at the location. With the start of the summer break, it seems that the resource race is just a matter of time. They all need to mine and strike with their pickaxes to extract minerals before nightfall. He manages to collect all the required materials, and he goes back to the merchant and hands them over. The merchant is overjoyed and amazed that he obtained all these materials in just 3 hours. He informs Senrako that it's enough to craft something very good. The blacksmith opens the list to show him which weapon he can craft from these stones. Senrako is impressed when he sees the troubled dagger on the list and decides to take it. He asks the merchant to give him 2 of them, and the blacksmith starts crafting them. Then, Senrako leaves the store and explores the market. He enters a tool shop to buy some equipment. Meanwhile, the blacksmith finishes crafting the daggers, and Senrako returns to collect them. He's amazed by the high-quality weapons, and they are ideal for his playstyle, as they temporarily reduce an opponent's durability after dealing significant damage. The blacksmith tells him that he needs to be diligent in finding and bringing more materials because weapon raising is also part of his work. Senrako doesn't fully understand what he means by weapon raising, but the merchant explains that users of shape-shifting magic, like him, can do more than just crafting weapons. They can upgrade them too. Weapons are like their children to blacksmiths, so they prefer to use the term raising instead of the harsher concept of upgrading. Senrako understands his words but is surprised because this person is talking to him as if he were a real person and not part of a game. He wonders how artificial intelligence can behave in such a way. After the blacksmith's warning about the dangerous nighttime monsters, Senrako decides not to leave town with the armor. He thanks the blacksmith and bids him farewell, eager to use his new troubled daggers to combat the deadly nocturnal creatures. In the night, we see Ri, the giant snake, still searching for Senrako throughout the entire town. Just as Senrako appears, battling the goblin, it attacks him. Senrako manages to fend off the goblin's attacks using his newly acquired skills. In the midst of the battle, Senrako recalls what he has learned about monster spawns during the day and night. Most nocturnal monsters tend to be aggressive and powerful. His training has helped him level up and learn new skills, but this particular monster seems exceptionally strong, even beyond his capabilities. Senrako continues to evade the goblin's attacks, using his sword skillfully. He is amazed by his own strength, having accumulated numerous life points and developed a combat style that incorporates various tactics and evasive maneuvers. As more goblins join the fray, Senrako realizes that these numbers are overwhelming. He contemplates making a quick escape, but is surrounded by goblins from all directions. Inwardly, he reflects on how he underestimated the game and used to enjoy it, thinking that first-class games like Shangri-La Frontier were not bad at all. He reminisces about facing Shangri and Levrant in the actual game. Suddenly, a unique and colossal monster known as Lon the Night Killer appears. Senrako is struck with fear, especially after recalling a previous scene where Lon effortlessly shattered a boulder with tremendous force. And with that, the thrilling second episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for more episodes, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enable the notification bell to receive updates on the latest content. The episode of this exciting anime begins with a girl playing a beautiful game, and now she's inside the game. They were talking about the player Senrako, and a large mechanized character was interrogating them. When Maya pulled out her weapon and aimed it at the mechanized character, her friend warned her not to do that because it's not a monster but another player. However, she's quite intimidating. Then the character asks him about the player Senrako and his whereabouts, but they inform her that he was poisoned by snake venom and headed towards Sekendial. He was nearly naked with a bird's head. The player thanks them for this valuable information and gives them a gift. Afterward, she leaves the place, possessing tremendous power. Maya and her friend are very surprised by the speed of this player, who is faster than lightning. However, they don't know her identity, but they notice the emblem on her cloak, suggesting that she might belong to a clan that focuses on hunting the unique monsters known as the Lon Night Killers. These unique monsters are a special category with individual names and titles, and when most monsters are defeated or captured, they respawn as new entities after a certain period. However, for the unique monsters, there's only one of each in the entire world, and rumors suggest that there are 7 in Shanfuro. Still, the criteria for the emergence of most of these unique monsters, referred to as giants, remain unknown. They become the target of top players aiming to eliminate them. It's been a year since the game began, and no unique monster has been defeated so far. The scene then shifts to Sanraku as he battles one of the largest monsters. When he evaluates the situation, he realizes that it's a unique monster known as Lon the Night Killer. Can Sanraku defeat this unique monster and break the game's rule that no unique monster has been defeated thus far? At this moment, Sanraku recalls some of the heroes who fought a monster like this, but were quickly defeated. He anticipates that his encounter with this unique monster might end with a single blow. At this moment, the giant monster launches an attack on Sanraku, delivering powerful blows with its massive hands. However, Sanraku manages to deflect them with his immense strength. He begins to counterattack, landing blow after blow on the monster, then leaping into the air and striking again. Sanraku is visibly exhausted, but he knows that this monster is not invulnerable and he can defeat it. He has spent the entire night reinforcing his incredible strength and mastering the skill of perfect evasion when the monster attacks. At this point, the monster launches another assault, destroying the ground beneath Sanraku. However, Sanraku utilizes his full power, and both of his feet glow as he charges at the monster once more, cutting off its left leg. The monster attempts to attack again but is powerless. It disappears, leaving Sanraku perplexed as he looks left and right, waiting for the giant monster to reappear. Moments later, the monster reappears behind Sanraku and attempts to strike, but Sanraku anticipates the attacks and evades them easily. He then jumps back into action, but the battle ultimately ends in a draw. Sanraku stands, catching his breath, as he has been fighting for more than 10 minutes, and he has received over 200 blows. Yet he remains as tough as steel. He now contemplates finding the monster's weak point so he can launch a successful attack. With all his strength, Sanraku charges towards the monster, filled with excitement to battle, one of the most formidable monsters in the world of Shangri-La Frontier. The adrenaline rushes through him, making him feel like he's on fire. He launches a powerful assault on the monster, delivering numerous quick and forceful blows. Despite being a player who ended up in the lowest ranks of the game, he will not give up. He knows that the monster lacks a vulnerable hitbox, but he won't back down. Suddenly, the monster roars in a terrifying manner, surprising Sanraku as it immobilizes him and prevents him from moving. Then the monster disappears, leaving Sanraku bewildered. It reappears and quickly severs Sanraku's legs, leaving him unable to comprehend what just happened. He falls to the ground, believing that he won't learn any incredible new skills and hoping for a mysterious high-level player to come to his rescue, although he suspects this only happens in cinematic situations. Afterwards, Sanraku has a conversation with the monster, acknowledging that it is incredibly powerful but that its strength is intentionally programmed within it, which means it possesses a level of strength that can be easily defeated. He tells the monster that he doesn't care about the final boss or the storyline at this moment, but he will definitely defeat it someday. It's better for the monster not to let anyone defeat it before he comes to face it. The monster then disappears from his sight. We then shift to Sekendil, where we find Sanraku lying on a bed. He has awakened from his unconscious state and realizes that he has been cursed. When he opens the evaluation screen, he sees the Curse of Lyon marked on his body. It's mentioned that he can't equip any gear for the body part affected by the Lycagon's mark. He understands that he won't be able to do anything with that part of his body or leg, meaning he can't purchase any equipment for himself. Sanraku is furious, as he doesn't know how this cursed wolf appeared and bit him, causing such a curse. He also learns that this curse cannot be removed unless he goes to a certain saint to have it lifted or goes to defeat the monster and break the curse. Afterwards, Sanraku sits on his bed, feeling saddened, and looks outside to see a beautiful day. He contemplates going for a walk. When people see him in the street almost naked, they are clearly uncomfortable and move away from him. Sanraku becomes angry at their reaction and decides to calm down. He reminds himself of the three principles he learned from the lowest ranks of the game: a strategic mind, an unbreakable spirit, and sound judgment. After this, Sanraku stands on this side to check his evaluation screen. It appears that he has gained a lot of experience from fighting the unique monster. This means his level has significantly increased and his skills have been upgraded. He also has many points to distribute. This might be a suitable time to adjust his build. Sanraku cautiously distributes the 50 points to his skills. He only allocates 6 points to his vitality. This means he has become as fragile as a glass bottle and can shatter with the slightest impact. Sanraku is extremely frustrated because he doesn't know what to do. He can no longer utilize 2 out of the 4 shield slots, and he'll have to compensate for this by focusing on speed and endurance. He then looks at his screen again and realizes that the best statistic he has is 65 points in luck. He ponders the reason for having only 1 life point and attributes it to luck. He's faced many challenges, and there's nothing wrong with relying on luck for assistance. Suddenly, a rabbit knocks on his door, startling Sanraku. He wonders what this rabbit is doing, as it's a deadly rabbit but seems a little different. Sanraku questions whether this game allows monsters to appear in towns. The rabbit runs off and Sanraku follows it, thinking that the outfit it's wearing is not that of an ordinary deadly rabbit. He believes he might obtain a rare item if he catches it. As he approaches the rabbit, it uses its power to open a door in the wall and enters. Sanraku realizes that it's a door leading to the land of rabbits, which he has seen in the game's official site. It's a main story centered around exploring the world, but it has numerous side quests. One of these side quests is called Unique Scenario, featuring mysterious scenarios, unknown times and locations, and secret contents. Sanraku is thrilled to have found one of the early game scenarios. He won't let this opportunity slip away. As he approaches the location, he is amazed to see many rabbits, and every time he looks, he spots deadly rabbits. He engages in a conversation with one of the rabbits, who greets him warmly, as it was eager to meet him. Rabbits as a whole talk about him, despite his significant personal weakness. They admire his courage in facing the Night Killer on his own, and his skills in landing perfect lethal blows without taking any hits. He represents the deadly spirit. One of the rabbits wishes to be like him and leave a scratch on the Night Killer. Sanraku's presence there indicates that the Emperor of the Night does not see him as mere prey, but as a being like him. Sanraku is astounded and questions if there's no revenge for all the deadly rabbits. Amol, the rabbit he's speaking with, reassures him not to fear the leader because their leader does not care about trivial matters like revenge. They arrive at Rabitsu's palace, and Sanraku is impressed by the palace's well-crafted design. Amol tells him that many humans visit the palace, but he will be the first person to enter it. Sanraku is overjoyed to be the first because this is the only scenario he knows. However, it seems his luck has finally changed as they arrive at the leader's location. Amol informs him that the leader has been waiting for him, the person whom the puppy injured and defeated so terribly. The leader speaks, saying that he assumed there was no hope for Sanraku, but it seems one of them is promising. The leader, who introduces himself as Vyasash, asks Sanraku if he minds giving him a little of his time. Sanraku stands there, afraid and astonished. The episode begins in an electronic game store where several people are browsing and watching games. The store owner talks to a girl who is a fan of Sanraku. She tells the girl that Hizutome is not here, but the girl is embarrassed and says she's just looking for some games. The store owner mentions that it's summer vacation, so Hizutome is probably playing the game all the time. She asks the girl if she hasn't found him yet despite all this time, and the girl explains that she was searching under the name Sanraku. The store owner laughs and says that he's completely bypassed the first tutorial city, suggesting that Hizutome is deeply dedicated to gaming. The store owner tells the girl that Hizutome is an avid gamer who will do things that ordinary players won't to face unique scenarios. She encourages the girl, saying that she'll likely find him very soon, and asks her to muster some effort. After finding him, she should express her feelings to him. Hearing this, the girl blushes with embarrassment. Later, we find the girl named Hizutome Romi telling her family that she has work to do and will be late. It seems she is a legendary character who will appear later. Meanwhile, our hero is reading instructions for the game. He mentions that the conditions to activate the Ribitsu round involve killing a monster higher in level than you using deadly weapons. After defeating the monster, a special deadly rabbit will appear in any town and invite you to Ribitsu. The rabbit will continue running without saying anything, so the hero hopes it doesn't lose its trail. When the hero reaches Ribitsu, he encounters a large snake named the Lagunian Snake. If he defeats it, he'll learn a deadly magic spell. The hero, Senraku, notes that this unique scenario is unlike the one he played yesterday. He recalls an encounter with a rabbit that resembled a very scary Yakuza boss, almost as powerful as the Lagunian snake. The rabbit starts talking, introducing itself as the leader of Ribitsu and praises the hero for fighting the puppy fiercely. Senraku is concerned, but the rabbit offers to help him level up if he's ready. At this point, our hero realizes that this mission is a training exercise to level up, which could significantly improve his abilities. He sees no reason to refuse it and agrees to the task. The rabbit starts moving towards Senra, who is initially terrified because the rabbit is massive. However, he is surprised when the rabbit laughs and tells him that he's genuinely impressed. The rabbit mentions that those with high potential know the name Fash, and Senraku seems shocked. The rabbit calls his son and tells him that he will leave Senraku under his care to begin his training. Then, the little rabbit named Amul speaks to Senraku, saying that he'll give him a tour of the castle. Senraku requests a short break before starting, expressing his desire to investigate the scenarios and monsters. Amul tells him that he can record his respawn point and Senraku will rely on it. Then, the massive rabbit throws a collar to our hero. Senraku is puzzled by the collar, but a screen appears, indicating that he has acquired the deadly spirit collar. Senraku is amazed that this collar can enhance the experience points he gains. He attempts to remove the collar, but the rabbit informs him that he cannot take it off unless granted permission. The rabbit stresses the importance of exceptional challenges to make the weak stronger, and Senraku becomes frustrated and expresses his dissatisfaction, mentioning another set of constraints, leaving him visibly upset. Afterward, in the real world, Senraku realizes that the deadly spirit collar multiplies his experience points by 2.5 times, making it an incredible and exceptional feature. He begins searching forums but finds no one who knows about this rabbit or the deadly spirit collar. Senraku concludes that nobody else has entered a scenario to enter Ribitsu Palace. It seems to be a unique scenario known only to him. He finds this exciting and mentions that it's time for his return. Senraku decides to play another game, one he hasn't played in a long time, and it's clear that this game has been played by someone named Rakurou. The game is known as Shanfuro, but it's considered a low-quality game with fewer than 100 daily registration. Most of the remaining players are passionate about playing low-quality games. Senraku appears in this new game, and someone says, "This guy has finally shown up. Senraku, let's start the fight." The other player extends his hand, claiming it's a new move he invented, and launches an attack. However, Senraku expertly dodges all these attacks and defends himself impressively, proving he's a professional player. They engage in a fierce battle, and Senraku uses a rapid grip technique to dismantle his opponent's limbs. He states that the quick grip is an absolute style, capable of countering all instant fatal boss attacks without a scratch. They continue to exchange punches, leaving other players astonished by the intense fight. In the end, the other player strikes Senraku with a powerful grip, defeating him. After the fight, Katsuyo, Senraku's friend, talks to him, jokingly saying he thought Senraku's message about starting the game Shanfuro was a bad joke. However, Senraku confirms that he's really immersed in the game. His friend continues to tease him, suggesting he'll encounter flying pigs, and Senraku talks about the game's challenging bosses, particularly the 7 giants, but players have only discovered the names of 4 of them. No one has defeated them since they started their service, Senraku said. At this time, players gather around them, but they are saddened because the conflict ended before their arrival. They know it's wonderful. Senraku continued by mentioning that he had slain one of the 7 giants, but he crushed it, which is why he became engrossed in this game and won't rest until he defeats that beast. So Baig told him that it's possible to start playing here in Shanfuro as well. Senraku's words piqued his interest, so he decided to continue here with him. None of his real-life friends play Burb, so Senraku was very excited about that. Then Senraku asked about the person he crushed and if they played here. Senraku answered that he didn't know. So Baig urged him to send a message informing him that he would play here until he comes to, as this is important. Indeed, Senraku sent Arthur a message that he's playing Shanfuro, and he is, in fact, addicted to the games. He engaged in fierce battles with these warriors and managed to defeat all of them with his powerful strikes, making Arthur the winner of this game. After that, Senraku returned to his old game thanks to a mole. This was a simple matter for her since she played Burb for some time. Senraku felt that the characters in Shanfuro were easier to move than those in his previous game. Amel told him that there are many fun places in the Rabitso Palace, with an arena, a training hall, and more. Senraku replied that he's interested in the palace and wants to take a good tour, but he wants to reach Thardrima before the crowds arrive. Amel didn't understand what he meant, but she followed him to see what he would do. Senraku told her that there's been a significant increase in players since the beginning of the summer break. The forums say that the primitive town is Varistia, so it's full of new players. This means they will encounter challenges in facilities, monster battles, mining areas, and more. He also heard that Thardrima is a very large city, so if he's going to continue in this unique scenario, he must do it from a big city with many amazing rooms. Amel was excited, even though she didn't understand his words. Since he wanted to go to the next city, she would help him with that. Amol sent him a message to join his group because he couldn't access Rabitso or the palace without her. Senraku was overjoyed when he realized that Imal wanted to join his group. He had initially thought she would just accompany him, but now he was glad that she wanted to be a part of his team. He agreed to have her join his group. Afterward, he checked her assessment screen and found that most of her stats were better than his, except for speed. He considered this a minor disadvantage and was confident that he would improve in that area soon. He thought to himself that maybe Emo could compensate for what happened to him in this game. Then, they started working together. However, when the two girls saw the cute rabbit, they were very excited. It was an adorable and friendly pet. However, they were quite annoyed because Senraku was almost naked. Senraku scolded himself for forgetting that Emal was part of a unique scenario that no one had seen before, so he wouldn't let Emal speak at all. He took her and ran away. Senraku yelled at Emal to take her and run, then he mentioned something about his belly-talking skill. The girl asked with sadness, "I wanted to know how to tame her." Her friend had obtained a picture to ask the forums, and then they would come to this place. Senraku replied that there were no nearby players now. Emal told him that she's not suitable for all this running. Senraku looked at her in surprise, then thought to himself, "What rabbit says this? She even has the same speed stats as me." Emal asked him, "What do we do now?" Senraku answered that there's something he wants to confirm, and that is if monsters with lower levels than the affected character will flee when they see the mark. Indeed, a bull appeared, and when it saw the mark, it became afraid and ran away quickly. Numo said, "He ran away from you, Senraku." He spoke to her, saying that the bull saw the symbol and he would chase after it as fast as possible. He also said that he wouldn't chase it without a purpose, but towards some obstacle. Just as he changed his direction, he threw a hammer in its path and attacked it as fast as he could, resulting in the bull's death. Senraku explained to Emo, extra damage from weaknesses is an additional feature. And there's a physical law that's often overlooked in the real world, but few games try to replicate it. Of course, this game simulates reality as much as possible. Neo responded, "That's amazing, Senraku. I could barely tell which one of you was the monster." He told her that with the mark, he could kill monsters at that speed or lower, and they should now head toward the area's leader. They ran as fast as they could to reach the area's leader in Thardrima afterward. At night, Senraku said, according to the map, the area's leader is here, but it's a swamp as far as I can see. Numo was concerned about her clothes getting ruined, but Senraku explained that when they were on their way here, she mentioned that the area's leader was a monster called Mud Digger, which emerges from the ground to attack. So it's important to find a way to immobilize it. Emo realized that the area's leader was here, and this monster emerges from the swamp. Senraku was terrified and said, "This is the worst opponent I could face." The scene then shifted to Senraku talking to Emol, and he mentioned that he would take a nap. Emol said she would also sleep, but suddenly a zipper on her clothes opened, and a strange creature emerged, saying, "I feel much better in my real form." It then went over to Senraku and devoured him. Finally, Senraku exited the game and was scared, saying, "This is a dream." The episode begins with Senraku, who sees a giant swamp creature in front of him and is astonished by the power of this massive creature. It appears to be a giant fish called the muck digger, swimming in the swamp. One of the unique features of this swamp is that it enforces a one-legged walking condition, meaning you always have one foot stuck in the swamp until the other foot reaches the bottom. In other words, you can't jump with both feet. You have to hop on one foot. Our hero thinks to himself that this is the worst opponent he could face, and wonders how he will fight with the swamp impeding his movement. The creature in the swamp stops its movement and begins to dive into the mud, heading towards Sanraku. A small rabbit says they will be peeled alive here and starts screaming. However, Sanraku tells the rabbit to hold on tightly and starts channeling energy into his leg to enable him to move and evade the creature. He mentions that the experience points from the battle with Lycagon have developed many of his skills, and knowing how to use them will be the key to victory. Suddenly, the monster reappears and tries to swallow Sanraku, but he prevents it from doing so using his weapons and begins attacking with his sharp knives. The rabbit remarks that this is truly amazing, but Sanraku replies that he only used a couple of skills to get out of that predicament, and the real problem starts now. He mentions that the cooldown for his slip and repel moves is 10 seconds for each, so he won't be able to use them again for another 10 seconds, and he doesn't have a way to avoid damage during that time. In a tough situation, another monster appears, attempting to devour Sanraku. But at that moment, the rabbit appears with a book and attacks the monster, saving Sanraku. He asks her what she did, and she confirms it was indeed magic. Sanraku realizes that he had been focused on playing solo and forgot that he had a partner. He begins to move to confront this monster, even though it's challenging to move in the mud. However, the monster rises before Sanraku gets close, and they start attacking each other again. This time, Sanraku climbs onto the monster's back and jumps on it. He tells Amal the rabbit that they will explode it with their combined strength. The rabbit starts casting an augmentation spell, and we see that the monster can't touch them because they are standing on its large nose. After throwing themselves far away, the monster begins to open its mouth to devour them. But Sanraku realizes that he has taken too long, and the 10 seconds have passed. He attacks the monster using his extraordinary ability. At this moment, we see that Amal the rabbit has completed her powerful explosion spell and attacks the monster, causing it to fall into the mud. Sanraku and his rabbit friend also fall into the muck. Sanraku tells Amal that this spell is very powerful and must have damaged the monster significantly. However, when they look around, they can't find the monster. It seems to have gone deep into the Then they feel the ground trembling beneath them, and Sanraku realizes that the ground is pulling his foot. Amal explains that the monster emerges from the ground to attack, so they need to find a way to anchor it. Sanraku takes her hand and throws her far away. He is surprised to see that the monster was shocked by his throw and flung into the air instead of being killed or eating him with its teeth. He expected his throw to be lethal but barely caused any damage. It appears that the shark-headed monster has a special attack called the Programmer's Launch. It is used after reaching a certain threshold of life points, and it involves diving deep into the ground and using the swamp to immobilize players. Then, it throws one of these players into the air, causing them to die from the fall damage because they are launched too high. Sanraku thinks to himself that the first throw didn't do much damage, so he will throw himself far away this time. He contemplates what to do and mentions that he has never died in a game like this, and he has completely given up. Amal runs towards him to save him, and it seems like he has resigned himself to his fate. However, Amal activates her magic and saves him from the fall and death, but he is surprised when he lands on top of the giant monster. She explains that this skill is called Meteor Fall, and it allows them to adjust the landing location. The fall is considered a serious attack on the giant monster, leading to its demise as Sanraku rapidly descends on it. Sanraku is overjoyed that he managed to defeat this giant monster and begins to thank Amal, his friend. He expresses how much he suffered here, just as he did with the previous monster, Lycagon. They are the survivors this time, and have finally managed to subdue the leader of this area, the Muck. After their adventure, they find themselves on the way back, and Sanraku starts eating herbs to increase his life points. He remarks that even the herbs can't restore his life points fully right away. His rabbit friend is surprised that he ate all of them at once, and he explains that it's the only way to get them into his mouth. In his thoughts, Senraku acknowledges that Ama was much more powerful than he expected, and that she was the reason for their victory. He plans to make her work as a good luck charm until she reaches her full potential. Ama speaks and mentions that they will soon reach Thardrima, and after they arrive, she plans to stay in Rabatsu completely. She looks forward to it, but Senraku raises a small concern about keeping her hidden when they arrive in the town, as they attracted attention the last time, which could lead to an attack. Amal reveals that she has a mysterious lethal bracelet that she hasn't used in a long time, which is a secret treasure of the deadly rabbits. She tells him to keep this between them and starts changing her appearance. At this point, Amal transforms into a beautiful girl, stunning Senraku. He had previously thought he was playing a top-tier Japanese game, but now he's discovering new things within the game. Amal explains that she can only maintain this form for 4 or 5 minutes in her current state. Senraku understands and warns her that if she makes any mistakes, he will punish her. Then, he asks Amal to play a specific role when they arrive in the town. He wants her to act as the unlucky girl who is dragging along a nearly naked birdman for some reason. Amal is quite concerned about this role, as it seems like she will fall into the swamp. They finally arrive in the beautiful and vast town called Thardrima, known for its stunning natural scenery. Amal is enchanted by its beauty, while Senraku, as an experienced explorer, isn't as impressed, having seen many places in his life that were even more beautiful. He explains that adventurers travel to many places, leaving Amal even more amazed and wishing she could do the same. Then, they prepare to enter the town. Sanraku asks Amal to get ready for her transformation to make herself inconspicuous. However, when they reach the town's gate, the guards stop them because Sanraku is almost naked and they see wounds on his legs. They assume he's a victim of a mugging. Amal speaks to the guards, spinning a tale about Sanraku's tragic past. She claims he was born anew as a mighty warrior and is now battling his destined rival with minimal skills and low levels. She explains that he was eventually cursed and offers a sympathetic portrayal of Sanraku as a weak and solitary boy on a journey to lift the curse. She continues to play her part, but the guards are initially reluctant to allow him entry due to his nearly naked state and unconventional appearance. However, two onlookers, a young man and a girl, overhear their conversation. They discuss Sanraku, who is shorter than average, and eventually, the guards agree to let them enter the town. Inside the town, the girl named Malia takes Sanraku's hand. He asks her who she is and what she wants, and she introduces herself as Animalia. She quickly snaps a picture of Sanraku with her rabbit friend and plans to post it on forums to ask veteran players if they've encountered him before. Meanwhile, back in the girl's room, she is seen getting angry and frustrated. She slams her hand on the table, annoyed that tamed companions in the game are typically dogs or cats. The scene shifts to the boy with beautiful hair, who is watching the same message that Animalia sent to various people. Then we see these two girls in disbelief as they discuss Sanraku's situation. The girl with crimson eyes and short horns is extremely angry and sets out to find Sanraku. The girl continued to search for him everywhere on the city streets. Then, we see that boy with yellow hair also talking about Sanreiko, and the information had leaked to almost all the players. It also shifts to the strong boy with oily hair, and they believe that Sanrak fought the legendary monster Lycajon. Based on the information they have, it's possible to encounter Lycajon randomly, but it's unusual for beginners in this game, especially in its early levels. We return once more to that boy who is very surprised by this message, and it was sent by the girl named Ashurkai. Also, that girl with yellow hair and beautiful eyes talks about Sanrak as a very dangerous player, capable of fighting that. Now we move to the red-haired girl who wants to meet him and get to know him as she has read a lot of information about him, which may have been leaked, but she can help protect him. After that, we see this huge man wearing a large armor also talking about the message, and it seems that Sanrako is now in the spotlight, and he has become very famous at this specific time. Everyone on social media is talking about him. We return to reality, and the girl with short horns holds Sanrako's hand, asking him a strong question. How did he manage to tame a deadly rabbit like that? The biggest shock for Sanrako was when he learned that she knew all this information, and was sure that he was with a talking, deadly rabbit that spoke the same language as they did. Sanrako was amazed because this information had leaked. It must have happened when they were in Scandal, which is very dangerous. Sanrako needs to act quickly. The girl pleads with him once more to tell her the truth, but Sanrak, given the unique scenario, cannot reveal it. He doesn't know how things will turn out, so he's unsure about what to do now. Suddenly, without any introduction, the girl with purple hair strikes with her sword, but everyone manages to avoid it. She then looks at Sanrako and questions him about how he can hide such dangerous information. Sanrako is surprised by her words because she also knew this critical information. He and the rabbit jump back and summon their deadly weapons. The girl then prepares for a fight and removes the mask covering her eyes, revealing herself as a very beautiful girl named Arthur Benzel-kun. When Sanrako checks her level, he finds that she is at level 99, a significant difference from his level 28. How will the battle between them play out, and who will emerge victorious in this intense battle? The scene shifts to the rabbit leader, and Amul, along with Sanriko, are sitting there all feeling tense. Then, the rabbit Sanrako's friend speaks to the rabbit leader and tells him that the time has finally come to show him everything she's got. Her eyes begin to blaze with fire, but in the end, she doesn't do anything. The scene then transitions to Amul in the morning, sitting on a large mound of giant frogs, talking to herself about finding a special place where she can rely on herself and face injustice, and Sanrako watches her from a distance and is quite amazed because she seems to be conversing with a multitude of frogs. With that, this episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for an exciting and mysterious episode featuring the battle between Sanriko and Arthur. Before you exit the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. The episode begins with Sanraiso carrying Imo as he escapes from Arthur. She tells him that he doesn't have to hide anything, as everyone wants to participate in this fun game. She then gives him the title of the Revolutionary Knight. Sanrako looks at her and tells her that he had been eagerly waiting for her because he knows she is the Pencil Knight. However, Arthur corrects him, saying that she is not the Pencil Knight but calls him Arthur in this game. Since they use different names that are not present in the game Shanfuro, it indicates a connection between Sanrako and Arthur from an old game. The story then shifts to another game called Unit Rounds, where two men break into a simple house, causing the homeowner to scream in fear. Her husband talks to the intruders, telling them to take whatever they want but not to harm them. The thieves decide to take everything and threaten to kill the homeowner if he makes any wrong move. They are very happy with their loot. After completing the robbery, they head back on the road to return to their hideout with their loot. However, Sanriko intercepts them and tells them that they did a good job in acquiring those items. He then kills them and takes all their loot. We learn some information about this game, where the main goal is to simulate a kingdom on the verge of collapse, and the players play the role of knights protecting it from invading monsters. It's a cooperative virtual reality game, but due to its poor design and low appearance rate of items, very few players attempted to play it correctly. Even the beginner's task of collecting medicinal herbs required 12 hours of exploring open areas to complete. Finding the highest grade items was even more challenging, forcing players to steal anything they needed in the game. At this point, the Pencil Knight appears, and she is not content with the task of collecting herbs. Her personality is driven by violence and cunning, and her goal is to take control of the kingdom. All players support her, and she becomes the ruler of the Pencil Kingdom. Later, we see Sanriko and Katsuo wandering through the palace, only to find everyone inside dead. Sanrako approaches one of the corpses and steals a necklace. His friend reminds him that this game is about protecting the kingdom from monsters and not about theft. Sanrako explains that he believed they could defeat the true evil, the Pencil Knight, but she was different from the previous game leader. She deliberately attacked players who didn't join her and used her agents to create an organized resistance against her. Sanriko and Katsuo stand in front of a door, determined to assassinate anyone they encounter. When they open the door, they find the Pencil Knight. At this point, Unit Rounds is under her control, and she calls herself the Corrupt Empress. She realizes that they used the rebel army as a distraction to sneak into her inner chamber. Sanrako taunts her, saying she could have set more effective traps, as they easily bypassed the initial ones. The Pencil Knight gets up and challenges them to a battle, as it's time for the leader fight. She believes that Sanrako could defeat her to become the Revolutionary Knight. The story then returns to the reality of the Shanfuro game. Senrako talks to himself about their shared history, mentioning that they fought against each other in unit rounds and died together in the end. However, there is a significant level difference between them. Arthur, in haste, attacks Senrako and tells him she took the punishment and traveled a great distance from Vaisvitija to kill him, believing he must be very grateful and could even cry if he wanted. She throws 3 daggers at him, but he skillfully avoids them. Arthur asks Senrako about his current level, assuming that defeating the Mud Digger means he must be around level 30. Senrako's incredible dodging skill is a result of the high-quality design of this game, making all movements extremely smooth. When Arthur mentions her role as the deputy leader of the Player Killer's clan and her alias, Ashura Kai, the Giant Slayer, Senrako is surprised by the name Giant Slayer. Arthur explains that she used to focus on ambushing high-level players, and at some point she gained that nickname. However, the developers nerfed her, making her job harder in the end. Senrako realizes that he was one of the giants who were killed. Suddenly, a war breaks out between Senrako and Arthur, with both of them striking each other but unable to harm one another. Senrako continues to fight with his 2 daggers, and Arthur reveals that she didn't come here for personal reasons. The leader of her clan, Ashura, asked her to deliver a message to spread information about the unique scenario, or alternatively, for Senrako to carry out this task. Senrako understands that this leader is threatening him and continues to face her. He rushes towards her and strikes her with his swords, but she manages to deflect his blows due to the significant difference in their equipment and levels. Senrako informs her that he knows she's trying hard to prevent him from approaching that gate, and he suspects that her initial attack was meant to stop him from entering the city. He believes that it's not difficult for a player killer to do as they please in a populated area. As the story unfolds, it's clear that there's a complex and intricate plot involving various characters and game elements, making for an engaging narrative. Arthur decided to deliver a powerful blow that would be difficult to evade, preventing Senrako from reaching the city gate. Meanwhile, Emil began to transform into a rabbit as her tail appeared, making it hard for her to endure further. However, Animelia becomes very angry because she was the one who initially wanted to fight Senrako. He ends up fighting the notorious giant slayer of ill repute. Animelia then decides to speak with her friend Emil and finds her trying to hide her tail, assuming it's just an accessory like a tail or ears. Animelia approaches her to talk, but Emil transforms into a rabbit at that moment, which surprises Animelia. She even considers eating her. When Senrako sees them, he hesitates for a moment, and Arthur takes advantage of it, attempting to strike him. Senrako manages to deflect her blow, surprising her with his strength as she used to underestimate him. Animelia calls out to Emil to come to her, and they both escape. Animelia tries to make Emil pose for a photo, but Senrako tells her he will consider it if they manage to escape from here. Senrako says, "I will consider it when we get out of here." Arthur laughs and says, "You're not fast enough to escape from me." She chases after them, but suddenly there is an explosion. Animelia says she doesn't care about that player, but if Emil is going to put that cute rabbit in danger, she will kill her. Senrako is pleased when he sees that the girl is interested in Emil, because it's evident that she cares deeply for her. Then, Senrako tells her to create a teleportation gate to Rabitso for them so that nobody can track them there. Suddenly, he encounters a group of knights, and the girl addresses them, saying, "I didn't say I came alone." Senrako responds, "Kitsch, I hate killing players with low levels. It's bad karma." The girl argues that their bosses also agree with that approach. Branch adds, "That's why they send us to do their dirty work." Raimi asks him, "Do you want to die, Senrako?" Senrako angrily retorts, "Are you going this far to kill a low-level player?" And he can't believe they're doing it just for pencil gone. Then we switch to Arthur and Animelia. Arthur tells her that Inaba is her specialty, but she will get to fight one of the guardians of the animal garden, a highly ranked clan of players who control monsters that don't care about other players. This man attacks Senraiso, but he defends himself. Another man attacks him, and Senrako dodges, realizing that there are 4 players who surpass him in level equipment. And we then go back to Animelia, who uses her magic to attack Arthur. However, nothing seems to happen to her. Arthur strikes back with the same move, causing Animelia to fall to the ground and her level to decrease. Animelia questions how Arthur managed to nullify her curses. Arthur explains that there is a player-killer shaman who didn't leave her alone, so she carries the karma straw with her. a consumable tool that can remove curses and repel them with a karma punishment. She admits that she fell into a trap but would have died from a poisoned fish if it weren't for the karma straw. The scene then shifts to Senreiko, who attacks the girl, but she defends herself. Suddenly, the four men attack him, and Senreiko starts to contemplate how he, a presumed bad player with a slow weapon like the longsword, could inflict damage on high-level players equipped with high-level shields. The real question is how to damage high-level players adorned with high-level shields when you don't need any skill to dodge their attacks. Just then, the masked man appears and strikes one of the four players with a single blow, killing him. The scene then shifts to the masked man who spots Senraku, and he exclaims, "Finally, I found you!" The scene then transitions to Rei, who continues to search for Senraku, but cannot find him. Mana approaches Rei and reassures her that she will find him soon, encouraging her to open up about her feelings. Irai sadly expresses her struggle in finding him and her desire to play games with him, even though all the games he enjoys are too difficult for her. Meanwhile, the masked man receives a message from his sister, who informs him that she last spotted Senraku near Sakaindo. She describes him as having a deadly talking rabbit, wearing unique clothing, and having a mask with a bird emblem and the mark of Lycan on his leg. The masked man suddenly rushes off, saying that several clans are preparing to contact him, including Shuar Kai. It's possible that he might be entangled in a player versus player PvP battle, and if the masked man can save him from the player killers, he might find a natural way to communicate with him. Asanraku attacks the girl and they counter his assault. The girl states that the player killers won't be able to defeat Senraku. His experience in Shanfuro made it clear that his skills and abilities are more valuable than unique equipment and high-level points. She mentions hearing that Katsuo also plays Shanfuro with Sanraku. At that moment, Senraku appears with Sager, leaving the girl astonished. She comments that he lured the animal park keeper, making him the master of the attack. She expresses her happiness at finally seeing him. And Malia then speaks to Senraku, telling him that she has cast 5 powerful karmic voodoo spells on him, and each doll can unleash 5 effects. She asks him if he can counter her final spell. She hits a pole that's what made her start to think about him. He was always happy and smiling. She started looking for him and became an expert at stalking him over time. She tried to talk to him more than once, but she was too shy each time. Now that we're back in the present, Rei won't miss her chance, so she helps Ruru. Right away, Ruro doesn't trust this huge knight, and he thinks that they are after the unique situation, just like everyone else. He knows he needs to find a way out, and his luck is that Animalia seems to be getting ready to do something. Analia's last move needs the mastery skill and less than 10 HP. This girl is just another crazy person in this anime, because she says her next move is a murder-suicide curse that will kill both her opponent and herself. Penelon has already used her doll, and she doesn't know how to heal them, so they are both out. The attack makes a huge explosion of light that shocks everyone. But now is Aror's chance. He tells his little furry friend to get a gate ready for them and says sorry to the knight for using its head as a start point. Animal Face is running very fast because the bad guys don't want him to get to the city because it's full of reward hunters. They are hurt, though, because Rei is too strong and knocks them back. Rural still doesn't believe the big knight, but he says he'll remember their name, Seer Zero. The Shuai members are very angry, but Rei is not paying attention at all. Her mind keeps going back to Rura's apology because she can't believe he actually talked to her. The guys from Shuai see this as a chance to get famous, so they try to fight the attack master. They should know that she is very angry with them, because they made it impossible for her to talk to Rural more. People in Shuai are getting ready to leave, but Rei won't let them because she's still very angry with them. Then we see that Ruro and Emil have made it back to the inn in Rabbit Yuza. Ima was out of magic after using her change earlier, but our boy was ready because he had bought things ahead of time that would restore magic. At that very moment, Rur gets an email from Panel Gon that he calls a sore loser. She can't believe the attack master just showed up out of nowhere to save him. And she says she killed herself, so she didn't really lose to him. Panel Gon still wants to talk to Rakurou, so she tells him to call Keitso so that the 3 of them can get together during the game join rounds. He thinks she might be up to no good because she doesn't want to just talk in F. At that moment, Katsuo emails him after Peniel Gon also sent him a message. Katsuo is just as skeptical as Rur, but they are both very interested in what she has to say. They decide not to give up, but Rural has more important things to think about right now. After Emo ends her tasty potion, Ruro is excited to say that he is ready to start this one-of-a-kind story. So Emo decides to show Ruro what the Mafia Rabbit boss meant when he said getting him up to snuff. He does this by taking Rural to the arena where they do their most intense fight training. When they get to the Voral Coliseum, Ruro is amazed at how big it is. Emo tells Ruro that her boss, Emel's father, wants her to fight 10 monsters there. Emil tells Ruro that he will only be able to use Waro weapons during this boss rush style of training. Ruro is excited about it. For our boy, that's fine at all. And he's ready to grind levels until he can wipe Penelgon's smug grin off his face, before he pulls out his Waro blades of death and makes the first monster appear. Rural takes a good stretch. He doesn't think he'll get 10 in a row on his first try, which shows how realistic he is. He is going to learn how they fight by making mistakes and then winning slowly but surely. When he faces his first enemy, a pack of dogs that always appear in groups of 5 or more, he is pretty shocked. In general, they are at level 65, which makes Ruro wonder if something went wrong. His mean little rabbit friend tells him that there's no mistake, and that's how the first opponent works. Ruro knows he has a lot to do, and the pack quickly wipes him out. Back in the real world, Ray is happy that Ruro talked to her, and she thinks about it over and over again. Unfortunately, that's not enough for the little pest. She tells herself that the next time they see each other, she needs to get the courage to send him a friend request. She thinks about her boy saying yes and wonders if he would say yes. When Ray thinks about that, she thinks they will become friends in real life, which makes her so happy. The trouble is that she looked for him in third Rima after killing the bad guys but couldn't find him. Now she's not sure what he's doing. Then we see what he's doing while he looks at the dogs. Emo points out that this is Rurer's 7th try, which makes it pretty clear that these dogs only see him as food. Luckily, death doesn't cost you anything in the arena. But it's not just the high level and large number of these beasts that hurt our beak-faced hero so much. It's their strikes that are perfectly timed. On the 7th try, Ruro does his best, and he sees that they are able to work together because they have a commander giving them orders. He knew it because he had fought them so many times. One of these scary creatures has been screaming from a safe distance and never fights. Now that he knows this, our boy attacks their leader with his spiral edge move. The other monsters rush to protect it, but this one just runs away. Things don't work together right, so he knows he was right. Because he knows this, Ra only needs to pay attention to the commander before he can give directions. In his hunt for the pack boss, he cheers for him when he kills it. Now that their boss is gone, he has nothing to fear, so he kills the people who can't work together. Ruro finishes the first level of training, and Emil is happy for her bird-faced hero. And the next round, Ruro hopes that there won't be another group of monsters, and Emil tells him that there will only be one opponent. Even though he really hopes that's the case, he is shocked to learn that the next enemy is named the Parasite Tentacle. This ugly thing looks like a teddy bear with snakes coming out of its back, which makes Ruro think it's probably a different group. When facing the beast's arms, Ruro tried to hide and run. The bear stopped moving after all of his limbs were cut off, so he won. He only tried 4 times. The third person he fought was a really tough goblin, but it was easier than the first 2. He only had to try this one twice. The 4th enemy he faced was a wild pig, but our boy has played rodeo games before and beat it on the first try. There was one tough guy in his 5th fight, though. It took him 112 tries to get this thing right. It was a crazy bird that pooped acid. The next few opponents were pretty easy, and each one only took him 1 try. The 9th enemy our hero faced was a giant golem. It had some kind of unseen energy shield that pushed him back and took away 70 of his health. He finally understood that he had to break it down little by little, and on his 7th try, he was able to beat it. Our boy is more excited than ever because he only has 1 opponent left. However, he is pretty upset that he has only gone up 2 levels after all that fighting. This is because Vash made him wear the V-Pal Soul Collar, which very kindly cuts in half the experience he gets. Since the bird brain has seen that Rural has a bad look in his eyes, Emil tells her to take a break. But our boy doesn't agree. He says that all of the optimization is working out great for him while making a funny face. The next monster has to show up, and Ruro is shocked to see that Vash has come to see him. Vash thinks it's great that Rare's already hit the last level and says the timing couldn't be better. For Ruro, the fact that beating the 9th monster just set off an event flag proves that it wasn't an accident. Vash says that they will have Ruro face a monster that he just caught as their last opponent. Vash had to go out of his way to get this monster, and he then chains it up and throws it into the ring. Vash freezes the thing, and our boy has no idea what kind of monster it is. It looks like a fool from a long time ago who tried to join with a tree to live longer. Vash keeps a close eye on Ruro and thinks that he can beat this monster the way he is now. So he changes the rules for how to win. It looks like this monster is insanely strong, so all Ra has to do to win is make it through 5 minutes. The thing in question is a wood mage, but Raro is eager to show that he can finish the level. Raro is sure he can handle this stamina test, but the monster's first attack takes him by surprise. This strange tree thing grows roots out of nowhere, making Ruro run for his life. As Vash tells Ruru, I really like how confident you are, but he needs to back that up now if he wants to stay alive. As RR dodges all of its attacks, it starts to feel pretty worried. He knows that the next 5 minutes are going to go by really slowly. Over 30 million people play Self, but Ruru is the first one to fight this scary monster. We can see that this tree mage is a crazy level 120, but Ruru won't find out about this for a long time. Thank you for watching my summary. Sign up for updates and ring the bell to hear about new parts. Rakurou tries hard to stay away from all the roots, but there seem to be a lot of them. Being crazy, our boy tries to get closer to the monster when all he needs to do is stay alive. But getting close doesn't help much because ours attack doesn't even scratch. The tree branch wizard, it's pretty clear that weapons won't hurt it, and now has to dodge its chains as well. Nemo tells the bird brain that 1 minute has already passed, so he should just dodge his way to victory. Vash is excited to see Rural's Vorable in 4 minutes. Sol Rokuro keeps dodging, but it's getting harder, and he realizes that his opponent is a true beast root. They have spear attacks that are almost impossible to avoid because they aren't telegraphed, and chains that look like they will destroy anything they touch, as if those things weren't scary enough on their own. They also follow him around like he's a magnet. It's almost enough to make him give up trying to avoid Alto, and Nemo worries more and more about him. There's still something worse. This tree monster keeps falling over, and every once in a while it attacks with magic. Some of the attacks are electrical, and some are fireballs. As time goes on, this wooden Harry Potter changes the kinds of magic it uses more and more. This time, it hits with an ice spell, and Rue is having a hard time staying alive because his attacks are also getting strong. The magic weapons are starting to hit a bigger area, and there are more chains and roots around. The special branch of the tree looks scary, and Rule figures that if the attacks keep getting stronger, he will be dead before 5 minutes are up. Then something purple mists up from the ground. It's just another spell from the tree arsenal that URL needs to think about. Since this thing can counter physical strikes and keeps adding its own, the fight is starting to look like it won't end. Rokuro starts to think that he would have a better chance against the loan that hurt him, and he loses all hope. He is getting so tired that it's hard for him to think straight. Rokuro is ready to give up, go home, eat something, and think about his next move. He doesn't really care about winning or losing because there isn't really a punishment for it. Right then, Rokuro snaps out of it and remembers that he is in a pushover. He had the same hopelessness against the mud digger before he gave up and had to depend on email roll. Now that he is feeling better, he lets out a battle cry and refuses to let himself cut corners. He thinks that because he has played so many trash games, almost turned his brain to garbage too, but that's over now. Emil and Vash agree that something has changed, and Rokuro gives them another push. He says that God is what he needs to balance out all the trash gamium he has been taking in. Gamma Light Sokuro can get close to the tree again. He runs along a path and tells himself he won't give up. Vash is pleased that he was able to get close enough to attack, but he says it doesn't matter because Rokuro can only do basic attacks, which Rokuro shocks. But everyone when he kicks the monster's staff out of its hand. Mercer's so tired that he wants to hit the living tree and go to sleep right away. Even though the monster couldn't do any harm, he realized that the attack still went through. Doesn't let the tree branch get its staff back, and he wonders what will happen to the tree if it has to fight without it. It's clear that it can't cast its spells anymore, but it still has its roots in chains, or learned from all the years he spent gaming that the only way to survive in a post-apocalyptic world is to steal things. He grabs the staff with the grabbing skills he learned in Unite rounds. Vash and Emil are both amazed, but Vash wants to see what Rural can really do in the next 2 minutes. The tree goes crazy, and Rural figures out that it must have gone wild when it lost the staff. The strikes are getting stronger, so Raro hopes. He should have been warned in some way. Little Email keeps cheering for our brave hero and tells him he only has 1 minute to stay alive. This is the exact reason why Rural's mobility build was made. After coming so close, he can't lose. But finally, one of the changes grabs him, and as he thought, it applies a bunch of buffs that he can't avoid. At this point, the tree wizard is closing in on him. The staff is thrown straight into the sky by Ro, which makes the tree chase it. Instead, the tree finally gets it back, but Rokurou can't believe the monster really did it. Rokurou makes fun of the stupid monster because it would have won if it had just kept fighting. Now that the time is up, he calls it a woodblock head, but the monster just keeps going, which shocks him. As Rokurou attacks, he runs for his life and says that the fight should be over. Since the 5 minutes are up, Vash steps in and deletes the monster from the game totally. Voipal Soul Rokurou is the winner, and Vash is really amazed by it. Rokurou can't believe Vash just did that much damage to it, and is confused about how he did it. Vash says that it can only stop a physical attack when its staff is with it and not when it is not. It's just a moving tree. At the party, Email shows up and Mero is thrilled to hear that he will soon be getting his prize for finishing the quest. Vash calls him an honorary rabbit, Tuzin, but Rokurou thought that winning would mean getting a rare item or something. Vash takes off R's Voral chain, finished the one-of-a-kind scene, and the little rabbits are off. To my surprise, there is an extra one-of-a-kind situation called V-Pale Epic, but Raro is mad that he didn't get any real low loot, so he quits the game. Rule chooses to just go to sleep, since it's getting late. That morning, Rule reads that the bonus unique situation calls for a level of 80, but he is only level 31. There is history behind the quest, but he gave up reading it all because it was too much for him. It would be very hard for him to learn all the story behind the game on his own, since there are whole clans that do it. Ro makes the choice to take a break from all the unique situation stuff. He will instead look around the town and then move on to the next place. Emo is done watering her plants and is also ready to move on. Rokurou knows that if he goes out looking like this, he will be swarmed by pakers and info hunters again. It won't help to just change his hat, because his like a good marks would also draw attention to him. Emile is just as helpful as always and tells him to cover his whole form. He has no idea how to do that, but she knows just the right spot. That little rabbit is Emo's little brother, and they go to see him. He buys things and then sells them in Rabbit Tuza. He sells in other places too, but he has to change into a person to do it. He doesn't do it often. Rabbit calls him a birdman, which shows that Rural is a person. Emil is shocked that he took off his mask for a moment, because she thought he had a very bad reason to wear it all the time. Emil asks Peach about the rare item she just found, so he checks his collection for it. After that, we see that this thing looks like a bedsheet and Muro appears to be dressed as a ghost for Halloween. When they go to get a plan of the area around 3rd Rima, Oral starts to get a lot of strange looks. It's time for Rural to tell Stee hates the bedsheet outfit. Seeing the thing, Rural calms down when he knows he got everything he needed. Emil burns through magic power really quickly when she is human, Rural says as she drinks another liquid. They need to get to the next area, and there are 3 ways they can do it. The fake caldera is one of them. It's a place where water has formed a lake in the mouth of a long-gone volcano. The second is the prismatic forest grotto, which is a jumble of caves that are full of plants. Iron Ruins of Divinity is the last way. It is a set of ruins from the time of divinity that got its name from the many iron boards that float above the ground. Rokurou understands how important this choice is and tells Emil to be quiet. When she tells him to go to the Fate Caldera, Rokurou chooses to go through the prismatic forest and tells her why it was the best choice. He tells them they have to stay away from the ruin of God at all costs because he thinks it's a trap. While Rokurou is busy telling himself how smart he is, Emile sees someone she thinks she saw them before. This person in armor looks like a stalker, and Mr. was shocked to see who it was. Thank you for watching my summary. We find a ship parked somewhere and meet Orsad, who is the boss of the Shui clan. He is upset that his clan let him down and brought shame on them. They said sorry and said that their mistake was caused by the attack, while the secret to a one-of-a-kind situation is at stake. Master Orcel Lot doesn't want to hear any excuses. They should have expected the best players to show up. Penelgon is a member of this clan and tells Orcel Lot without fear that he should have done it himself. He tells her that he was busy, and that the rabbit they are after is the key to a lot of important things. Any way they can, Orcel Lot wants to know what's going on. So he tells the group to get them out of Ruro. Penelgon thinks they should be going after special monsters instead. But Orset tells her that these monsters aren't meant to be beatable right away. They are now. The only people who know the unique monster spawn condition are players who have already met the beast and gained experience. They can use it to get much stronger if they plan it right. Everyone agrees not to go after the monster, but Penelgon believes they are all pointless. Orsela tries to keep her from going, but she needs to get ready for work. People have always hated Eri, so they chose to live on it. But the most recent patch made killing other players much dangerous, so the clan has changed. She says it's a huge risk for her, win or lose, and Penal can't believe she's putting her life at risk for one little NPC. Nothing is too much for her to give up in order to bury the one-of-a-kind monster known as Weatherman. The guard at the tomb where our bird-headed hero Rue was kept was afraid that Siger Zero was there to get back at him for stepping on him. Zero moves toward them, but is scared and tells Emo that it's time to run toward the people that Ashur Kai is looking for. They think Ruro is just a crazy guy in a bedsheet because he runs by them. Players' names appear above their heads, which is how the guys know it's Ara's son Raku, who has a name in the game. His ghost outfit and chase won't throw them off. He's making a lot of noise because the night is after him, but he doesn't have much of a choice. Ruro tells Emo it's time to move on to the next area. The Azurai guys figure out that the bird brain is going to the Iron Ruins, so they call their other members and get ready to attack at the exit gate. Uro gets an email reminding him that he said they were going to the Prismatic Forest Grotto. He tells the email that he's going the wrong way to trick everyone. He knows they are waiting for him at the gate, but he has a plan to get away from them in an alley. His plan works because they lose sight of Ruro and decide to just wait at the gate leading to the Iron Ruins. Our clever main character used his bed sheet to perfectly mask himself and teaches Email how to lie. They get to their real location, but when Seer Zero shows up behind them, they are shocked. Ara still thinks the huge knight is a guy and is scared of what might happen. Sagar Zero sends him a friend request, which makes him feel a little better. Sagar Zero mumbles that she wants to be friends, but her voice is so low that it's hard to understand, that Ruro can't hear anything. At first, Ruro thinks she might be a girl, but then he changes his mind. He thinks she might be trying to trick him, but then he realizes that the attack master could have already killed him. Ruro has a hard time trusting people, and he wonders if she's trying to join him so that he will tell everyone what he thinks is going on. He thinks that the giant knight must be planning something because she was able to see through his disguise and figure out where he was going. Because Ruro is a gamer and has played a lot of PvP before, he was sure he could handle anything. He knows he can still beat her, so he plans a play that will hurt her. The little stalker's dream has finally come true when Ruro says yes to the friend request. Then we see that she just happened to find him, but she's very happy about it. She tells Rule that she can help him with the game, but someone has seriously broken Rule's trust before he sees her simple offer as proof that she wants to borrow money from him, so she can ask him for information. Ruro tells her he doesn't want to be carried, so she says she's sorry and best of luck to him. Ruro says he's sorry for using her big head as a step stool before, but she tells him it's okay and he can do it whenever he wants. Miro finds it strange that she changed her mind so quickly after this Gie goodbye. For Emo, the night looks pretty scary, and for Miro, that means Seer Zero is likely 4 or 5 times stronger than him. But Emil says that Roll has a stronger Vabel soul. Our Birdman still doesn't know what a Vabel soul is. Ray really just watches him walk away, and Rural chooses to forget about the whole thing. Rai knows that the girl he was with is an NPC, but she doesn't care because she sees that Ruro finally accepted her friend request. The Ashur Kai boys figure out they were lied to and choose to go to the Prismatic Forest. They see. The scary attack master was just standing there, though, so he chose to run away. Our duo can finally relax in the forest, so Imo turns back into a rabbit and our hero turns back into a bird. Moss that glows in the dark covers the tunnel. Ruro says that when he came out of tunnels in other games, he saw a lot of things, like guns pointed at him and beautiful shooting stars. But this amazing forest beats them all. It's beautiful, and it's home to some very strange animals. Empire work bees and some bugs that can also be used as stores are killing each other left and right, and Ruro gets excited because nothing beats it. Going into a new area. Ruro is a little short on cash after buying a lot of things, so he chooses to kill one of the storage bugs in the hopes of finding something valuable. But he fails horribly and says that the bug's wings aren't very heavy, even though it has a huge pot belly. It's still too slow for a bird like him, so Curl kills it. He was right, thank goodness, as long as he doesn't hurt the stomach. He knows how to snag. It is a thing Emil is so excited she can't hold it in, and Ruro decides they should keep getting together. As many drops of items as they can find, Ruro finds their next target, and Amo is surprised to see that he bought a thrown knife at some point. He can only fight with a melee weapon, but getting pooped on by the poop bird in the arena was pretty scary for him. You can only use the throwing knife once, but it's a great way to hit from far away. Sure cuts a flower with the knife, but he knew the whole time that it was really a mantis that had been disguised. He tells him to turn it into loot for him, and then he burns it. Emo cheers for her hero, and Ruro says that the mantises aren't hard to beat when they don't have to hide. Ruro checks his collection and sees that he has already gotten a lot of stuff, but there is still one monster he hasn't killed. The ground then starts to shake and that thing appears. It's a giant beetle and it's at least 5 m long. It's drinking tree sap on Empire. Bees turf, but the bees don't want any of it. When the bees attack the lone beetle, Rakurou is shocked because it's clear they are doing what their queen told them to do. As he starts to describe the fight, our boy says that the bug is still alive. Emil is going to do color analysis next, but she can't come up with good ideas on the spot. The fierce fight goes on, and as the beetle moves toward the bee's home, it attacks with its horn. Emil is finally ready to say something, but all he has to say is big for the bug. When our boy speaks up, he says something more serious. He says that the bees have made the beetle's protection weak in several places. The queen bee is about to tell her army to end the battle when the beetle suddenly goes straight for her. The beetle was just waiting to get close enough to the queen to attack. Now that it has, it is victorious, and the rest of the beasts run, leaving the beetle to eat its food again. The fighter beetle is cool to look at for Ruro, but it's crazy and goes after them. Then they run for their lives, and Ro tries to explain that he only wanted to get the things the bees dropped. Emo says the bug must have thought they wanted it. He gets an idea from his sap and recrow. He throws a gut bag at a mantis, which makes it burst. The beetle then goes after it. Now that the roles have switched, Ro goes after the beetle's weak spots. He gets a lot of critical hits. The proud fighter beetle is now a pile of nothing thanks to his good luck. Since Raro already has a lot of stuff, he decides not to get any more sad. Ruro tells them that they live in bugs and eat bugs, so they don't mind the idea of using all the bees' work. Rumor has it that the area boss in that area is a spider. Emil tells him that the spider is called the clown spider. Since there are spider webs everywhere, Ruro thinks they must be getting closer to the boss. Ruro chooses to go into a cave without being scared, but we can see that the scary spider is already there waiting for him. Thanks for watching my summary. To get notified of new videos, please subscribe and click the bell icon. A quick look at the last few days shows another group. One girl is scared that their leader wants to fight the boss of the area. Soon, their boss tells her to be quiet because he is sure they can win. But this guy gets caught in a spider web and can't get out. The girls are scared, and we can see why the scary clown spider they just saw is now making his way toward the cave. He wants to get in, but he can't because other people are fighting. The pink-haired area boss from earlier comes crashing down and complains that he has to go all the way back up. Pinky is still sure that he can fix this bad situation. But as Ruro says, he just gets flattened like a pancake, is a prayer for the lost adventurer. But he's ready to move on. Right now, Emil is shocked that he can move on so quickly. But Art tells her that players will just restart in third Rima. As they go deeper into the cave, they see the bodies of the players who died before them. When Ruro tells Emo to stay back, he shows how sure he is of himself. He wants to beat the clown spider by himself so he won't die or get hurt. Emo thinks our boy is crazy, but he has already made up his mind, and he calls out the area boss. The webs get thicker as you move up the broker ladder. Good thing he learned some new things. After getting better in the field, he tries to figure out which to use, but a boulder is about to fall, and he has to quickly change his focus. His new skill is called One Boot Leap, and it's easy for him to avoid it. Emil barely makes it through and tells our hero to be careful of the webs in front of him. She is surprised when he doesn't get stuck to them because she thought he would. Our boy knows a lot about spiders because he tells us that the horizontal spiral lines of spider webs don't stick. There are more rocks falling, but he should be okay as long as he watches where he steps. Being careful and having the acceleration skill help him climb much faster, leaving Emo to avoid the falling rocks and save her life. Ruro faces the clown spider for the first time and avoids some of its weak strikes. Ruro then cuts off one of the spider's legs with his new skill, loop, slash, and slice. He knows that's not enough to win, so he uses a skill called rush. Because slash does so much more damage, the stupid spider can't keep its balance and Farmer figures that this height will cause a lot of damage when it hits the ground. The spider tries to save itself by making a web, but our boy cuts it off right away with his thrown knife. The spider hits the ground hard, but it already knows that won't be enough to kill it. If you look at the sky, you can see that this spider has a lot of heavy things to drop. Then Rur has an idea. The clown spider is getting ready for round 2, but our boy has already begun. He is dropping rocks and trees on the spider to crush it. The spider is being slammed down on, and Emo is happy because it looks just like her. Hero will beat the spider without getting hurt. As the spider starts to rise, Nemo wonders what our crazy main character is doing as he goes down. It turns out that Ruro isn't happy with this way of winning because he won't be able to beat the Lon if he can't even beat an area boss head on. As Ruro lands on the spider, a critical strike blows up the area boss totally, and Emo then comes to celebrate. Just like Ruro said, he beat it just like that. He said there would be no harm or death. He gets a message from the pencil Ken right then, but he's not the only one. A blonde girl also got the message. She's pretty upset because she heard bosses were hard to beat by herself, but she did it with the mud digger. This player is really Katsu, and she's looking forward to something that will really push her at the game. Shop, Ray tells Mana with joy that she no longer has to stalk her curl like a creep because they are now friends. Raymond is crazy about her crush because he skipped first town and brought a wild V-Pale bunny with him. Ray is happy. The guy she thinks is Ruro has come to the shop is actually someone else. It turns out that Ruro hasn't been there in days. Mana thinks that he is playing Seliph because of this. She thinks that RR will be the first person to beat a unique monster because he is such an unpredictable person. Ray walks home, but she is shocked to find our boy going about his business in another store. Right away, Rai goes back to wearing stockings and closely watches him read a magazine. This is what Ruro reads about his friend Kayaso's interview. Kakashi is a professional gamer, but he's also a huge jerk. Talking Machine also, Rakurou hears that SLF is getting a big update this summer. This makes him think of his meeting with Pencilgon. As you look back at the meeting in another game, Pencilgon says that it's been so long since her friends have been to see her that they all missed each other. They were when they attacked her castle and beat the 80 players who were protecting it. Ruro and Katsu are her guests. The boys talk about how much fun it was to destroy her home, and they get very angry when they say that Pencilgon is still really butthurt about it. When Pencilgon tells them they need to talk about business, they pay attention because she's had enough. She gets right to the point and asks them to work with her to defeat a certain monster. Weatherman, the guard of the tomb. The two boys think about it for a moment and then say how shocked they are. It's a unique monster like the one Lon Ruro fought, which is why Katsu is so interested in them. Ruro thought they were just getting together to talk about beating a Heil clan or something. Ruro points out that there are only 3 of them and asks her if she really thinks they can do it on their own since he doesn't know anything about this Weatherman monster. Weatherman is not the type of person who can beat with numbers, says Pencil Gun. She tried with 15 of Asur Kai's best members, but they failed because the monster gets stronger when it fights more people. But that's not all. Penelon won't tell them anything else until they agree to join her. Her plan is to attack at night in 2 weeks, right after they get rid of the big summer event. After giving it some thought, Ruro questions why she is asking 2 new players when she could just ask a couple of high-level players. Pennygong seems to know what's on his mind as she tells him that their low levels are just game skills, no matter what she needs. This is why she picked Ruro, who is a god-level trash gamer, and Katsu, who is a pro gamer. When Ruro's friend Katsu says they don't think their skills are that similar, it makes him mad. Pentagon just wants to know what they think and is willing to hear what they would like as an extra prize. Ruro says he fully knows what's going on, but he can tell she's still hiding something. He doesn't agree with anything yet and tells her she needs to reveal her secret pencil. She does, but we don't get to hear it. Teacher's Row leaves the shop because she heard it in real life, and Ray calls out to him from where she is hidden. Ruro doesn't know who she is and only remembers her as a girl from one of his lessons. A year ago, Ray just stared at him uncomfortably while Ruro tried very hard to remember her name. He remembers at the last minute and tells her what a strange thing it is that they are meeting there. Our son was just getting materials for typical gamer, and Ray was leaving for judo practice. Ray talks about how Mana told her he was playing self, and she tells him how she is playing. Also, Rumal wants to play with her sometime, but a message takes her attention away. He tells Ray goodbye and quickly leaves because it's an important message from Pencilgon. Ray is just happy that she was able to talk to Ruro. There are a lot of energy drinks, which means they want to play games for a long time. She hopes to meet him in-game again when she gets home. She's not sure if he should have asked for Ray's in-game name in the game. Nimel moves in too close to meet him, and Ruro tells her he has something to say. Ruro says he is going to fight Weatherman. There will be a tomb guard in 2 weeks, and he might kick Emil out of the party then. Emil goes completely crazy. When Weatherman hears the name, he runs off to tell her about the mafia boss and father. Father Rule doesn't know what that was about and doesn't have time to find out because he has to meet with Penilgon. They met, and during that meeting, R asked Pencilgong if he could bring Long. Since Emil is an NPC, Pencilgon knows the little rabbit and tells him that he should remove her from his party if he really cares about Emil. Then, shockingly, she says that in SL, if an NPC dies, they won't come back to life. Thank you for watching. To get future parts of my report, subscribe and hit the bell icon. After a while, we see that Emo's dad has called Rufel to hear him explain his plan. He wants to know if it's true that Ruro is going to fight the person known as the Death to Fire. Ruro knows right away that this sudden event has to be significant. Putting himself in this situation and talking to this mob boss is the best thing he can do right now. He might learn something useful about Weatherman if he does it right. Ruro decides that the word Voral Soul is the key to getting Vash to support him. Ruro is too weak to fight Weatherman, Vash tells him. In a dramatic move, Ruro says he's not taken on this task because he thinks he can win. He tells her that he will only be helping out, just like his friend will. During most of the battle, Ruro says that a group of killers is using Weatherman for their own gain. They get a lot of experience just by running into him over and over. Someone on Ruro's team is called the Defector, and she wants to end the fight for good. Ruro says she has done everything she can to make sure victory, but Vash says it doesn't matter how many things they do. I don't think they are strong enough to go on this mission because it will only hurt them. Killing people isn't what having a soul that can bend means, and Vash taught him that. Ruro doesn't want to lose, and he tells Weatherman that he and his friends only want to back their leader's desire to win. Muro tells her that helping her is really just taking care of his own soul. He tells Vash that 2 weeks is all it takes. It takes Vash 2 weeks to take Ruro, who knows he's a fool because he hasn't done this before, and make him a worthy challenger against a strong opponent. As Vash talks about respect, he seems to change his mind. He says that a certain man is awkward, and Rule is not sure if he is talking about the Weatherman. He takes things too seriously and never knows when to stop. He lost his wife because he told a small lie, and now his body will never die. He can no longer do anything and is just a walking corpse. Because of this, he needs to be beaten and put to sleep. Vash promised not to touch this man himself, but Ruro is so determined that he won't stop him. Besides that, Faze has his beloved daughter. Vashon says he has Ruro, so follow him when he says he'll help. When they get to a blacksmith's forge, Ruro is shocked. He laughs for a moment because he did a good job getting to the next part of the Rabusa event. Vash calls on Billik, the blacksmith, who is also one of Emo's brothers. That's already there. So far, there are 3 kids, and Ruro isn't sure if all the bunnies in Rabadasi are shit. Children Ruro is shown, and Back says he looks a lot like a certain person. It's the bad guy. Ash looks at Rinkuro's V-Pale guns and is happy to see that they accept him. Nicely Fash says that he is going to be climbing the weapons, which surprises Back. She can't believe Vash is going to use the hammer himself, but Vash tells her that he has to. Ruro can't do nothing about the death fire if he wants to fight it. When Bylok gets really excited, he goes to start the forge. Vash asks Ruro if he has any useful materials that he got in a tough fight, so Ruro looks through his things. He finds something in the end and gives Vash a 4-legged beetle shell. Vash agrees and gets ready. It was strong enough to last a long time against the Empire Bees, so it should be good stuff. This is what Bylok tells her CR should feel very lucky because their boss hasn't held a hammer in years. That was the last time, before he became Rabbit King. Email tells everyone that Vash is a skilled blacksmith and not just any blacksmith. Either way, He calls himself a master craftsman because he is very good at forging and because he is also very good at an old craft called Age of Divinity Forgery. He is a master of both. He works like a divine craftsman, the best blacksmith in the world. Bar none, Emil gets excited when her dad is ready to start. Vash hits recurs, weapons, and recurs with a hammer, and magic rings appear. They pop out with every hit and are then absorbed by the weapon. Bayek explains that rising means reading the memories and experience that weapons gain in battle and changing them into what they were made to do. It's a skill that turns weapons into their real forms, weapons with Voral. Remember that in their name, fights against strong opponents. Vash is taking their memories of fighting a Muro's hand and putting the power of that strong enemy into the things he gave Ash. Then he combines those two things to change the shape of the weapon. Book says that fought the Lycaoge fairly, and she's excited to see what weapon will come from that. Merle needs to be told to be quiet when Vash starts to sing, while Vash keeps pounding on the weapon. The little rabbits are amazed to see the master at work. This is a very important moment. After some time, Vash finally says that the Voral choppers have changed into what they really are and are called the Moonblade Waxing and Moonblade Waning weapons. It's like two swords from one blade. They only show how valuable they are when they're used together. Ruru is thrilled about this amazing achievement and goes straight to check their stats for the growing one. When used against a higher level enemy, it lowers the user's HP when they land a critical hit. That being said, it also gives his next move more damage. The waning blade, on the other hand, heals in the same way. It's now clear that the blades really do work well together. Then Ruro reads that a fusion gauge will be full when the ship lands. Several critical hits, that's so cool, Ruro can't believe it. It means that the blades can be used together. He can't wait to try them out, but he doesn't have enough stats to do so. Ruro calms down after being upset when he sees it's just a simple math problem. He needs 150 stats, but only has 57 right now. Each level is worth 5 points. When Rur learns that he will have to reach level 50 before he can use them, he feels very sad. Others tried to make him feel better, but he was too excited to use his cool new tools. Rima Romeo is now in the third and is late for his meeting with Penelgon and Katso. They are very angry because he is now 3 hours late and not just a little late. Ruro says he was working on a unique case and didn't stop because the weatherman showed up. Penelon agrees to let him off the hook for being late, as long as he tells everyone what he got. Katso can't believe it, and Mr. tells him how brave he is for choosing the blonde girl. Since his character, Katso, says he doesn't need character design advice from the guy who looks like a bird and calls him a notorious criminal, because Ruro has so many people coming after him. Gon had to pick a place for the meeting that wouldn't get a lot of traffic. After that, Ruro tells them everything he has learned. The Tombu guard cat Weatherman starts to wonder if they are dealing with an undead creature, and Pentalon remembers that Weatherman's moves did look a little off. She thought he was some kind of robot, but being undead makes more sense. Pinogon tells them she has to take care of something strange and tells them to meet later that night. She also gives them a fishing rod and a map and tells them to get experience in the Iron Ruins while they wait. There is no way for the guys to understand how the things will help them, but Penelgon tells them that everything will make sense when they get there. As Penelgon gets ready to leave, she sees the strange little bunny on Rakurou's back. She saw that something wasn't right. The second Ruro came in and has to wonder if he really thought the mask was working. Rural does his best acting when he acts like he has no idea what she's talking about and says he's just following the latest fashion trend. Then Pencil Gong is shocked to see that he did fool at least one person, while Castell asks what the latest fashion style is. Pinogon chooses to drop the matter and just watches as the two guys get ready to grind. Rule needs a moment to figure out the safest way to get there. Cattle was very excited, but now that he is with Ruro and has to sneak around too, he feels down. When Emil tells Ruro that she has a terrible earache and would like to get some fresh air, Kate, Emil gets upset, finally figures out that something is wrong and is startled to see that Ruro's equipment is talking. The jig is up, so Ruro lets Emil free and he says that he was just waiting to see how long it would take for Katso to notice. As he looks more closely, Katso realizes that it's the NPC from the unique scenario and wishes he had one, but Ruro tells him to get his own. When the guys finally get to the ruins entry, Ruro says he wants to reach level 50 as soon as possible. Cater admits that this is his first time at a party and the first time he's been to a party with another person as well. As soon as they hit the entrance to the Iron Ruins of Divinity, they both got excited. This part of the game felt very different from the rest. The episode concludes, leaving viewers in anticipation of the next thrilling events. The narrative promises more excitement, and the audience is encouraged to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell for the latest up. We get a quick look into the past because our group has a plan. Getting together. Penelon says that Weathermon uses a skill at the start of the battle. It raises the maximum level of all characters in the area to 50, except for him. The boys are shocked to learn that Weatherman is a crazy level 200. It doesn't really matter against him and the player because they're at the same level. The most important thing is skill. Since the guys are still pretty new to the game, they need to work hard to get to level 50. The two guys go into the Iron Ruins of Divinity to find the hidden area Peniljan told them about that is great for grinding, but it's taking longer than they thought. The game is very different from what it was outside the ruins, and black panels are moving all over the place. Ruro, you always play trash. The player says that if they glitch out the platforms, they might be able to do some really cool things. His friend is known to Katso, and tells him he needs to get rid of all the useless game stuff in his mind. Katso says this place looks like a god-level sci-fi game, but Rural just wants to know what level he is. Ruro makes fun of Kat for still being in his 20s when he tells him that he's level 25. Ruro has reached level 31. The cat quickly points out that they aren't that far apart. Emil accidentally roasts Katso while she tells him that Ruro is just worried about how weak and fragile he is. At that very moment, Emil warns the boys to be careful because something big called. The huge suppression dome almost crushes them. It's clear that it's an enemy, but Klee tells Ruro to stay out of this one. Emil isn't sure if that's okay, but Brew is sure of his friend's skills. Kat gets ready to fight and tells Emil that skill alone can give you a chance no matter how low your level is. It's impressive that he can destroy the drone with just one punch. Kate, one of his teammates, tells him that the red glow on his hands is a spell that makes more enemies appear and gives bonuses to vitality. He then says that he chose a Spirit Fist user monk. He can't use weapons, but he can get buffs and hit things with his fists. When he built himself, he put most of his stats into healthy and hit points. Katso finally gets rid of the enemies, and just by knowing him, Katso can guess what Rural's build is. That Ruro is really strong and quick, like a glass cannon. Even though he's partly right, Ruro tells him so. A fighter who focuses on luck and agility. Emil tells him that he is even more wrong and that Ruro has a soul that can change shape, but no one knows what that is. They keep going on their long journey by following the exact directions on the map the Pencilgon gave them. The map leads them in many directions and through many rooms. They are all amazed by the person who made the map. It must have taken a lot of patience. The last step is to jump down a hole, but they stop to think if it's all a joke to make them kill themselves. Lifecat doesn't want the glass cannon Ruro to actually die going down there. He then takes the lead. Emo says that Kates is a brave woman, but Rule tries to tell her that Kateso is a guy. Kateso tells them to come down, but he calls Ruro a loser. As he says this, Ruro gets angry and jumps down, ready to get revenge. His anger fades quickly, though, when he sees that they have reached the secret area. Penilgan told them that they could catch a monster called the Lifesteed Lake Serpent in the lake. Katso doubts that they will be able to catch anything with their small fishing rods, but they decide to give it a try anyway. The two friends are very competitive, so they decide to fish together to see who can catch more. Ruru's dad used to take him fishing all the time. He knows all the tricks and tips. Even though Ruro gets a bite right away, Kat says it might just be his luck. Everyone is shocked when Kat pulls out his huge snake. Ruro only manages to catch a salmon. The Lifesteed Lake Serpent is a powerful beast, so Ruro decides to show off his new weapon. Kat tells him that he's not strong enough to wear the moon blades, but Ruro sneaks out and says that he had more weapons made. The Empire B twin blades are what they're called. As the snake starts to attack, Nima tells Katso that she had her sister make these blades for Ruro. If you look back, you can see the little bunny finishing the blades he made from the Empire B. Brock is mad when Ruro almost forgets her name after giving her queen material. It dawns on him that he might have to control his feelings for rabbits besides Emil. And Vash Rural freaks out as he starts to have traumatic flashbacks from a trash game dating simulator. He had to keep all of the girls' levels of affection in check. If he did something wrong, the story would have a bad ending, where all the girls moved to Italy to work as apprentices at a pizzeria. His character, Sonru Picklefish, would have his adolescence crushed under a pizza stone. Yuro quickly snaps out of his sadness and tells Billock how great it is that he made his new blades. She says that his right-hand blade has something special about it. After that, we watch to work against the snake, as he says. Your people in the group try their best to fight it, but their levels are too low to do much more than scratch it. Ruro says that some monster attacks and weapon skills have an attribute called corrosion. If enough damage is done to a part of an avatar, that part will become weak and show damage. Bayek told them that his right-hand weapon doesn't rust like other weapons do. The part that Rur attacks gets infected with it, and over time, it corrodes it more like a poison that does that. It builds up and warms its way in slowly. If he keeps hitting the enemy with more corrosive poison, it breaks through their debuff resistance and makes the corrosive attribute show up faster. Ruro is finally able to make a weak spot. In order to attack it, Cat puts all of his strength into it. They finally hurt it, which makes Amimo want to join the fight. The snake quickly goes after her, and while Merle doesn't make it in time, Kido steps in to take the hit. Lucky for them, Katso lives because he built himself up like a tank. He stuns the serpent, so they all work together to attack the beast and win. The fight was well worth it because the boys gained a lot of experience and are now beginning to level up. Cat gains 4 levels and a lot of new skills. He thinks about whether he can connect the skills, but Ruro thinks he's got SLF mixed up. K2 knows what skill linking is, but Ruro doesn't know what it is for another game. Since self is all about skills, it must be possible. Katu tells Roll that he should have learned that in first grade but didn't. That beginning then, Town Cat tells Rural that skills with different levels of proficiency can be linked together at a place called the Skill Garden, which lets them make new combo skills. Roll now understands why some of his skills were changing names. That was just so they could be used together. Ruro goes crazy because he doesn't know any of the other things that can be done at the Skill Garden. He starts to freak out even more when Katso talks about sub-J jobs and guilds. He missed so much by skipping one small town. Russell decides that being sad won't help him and goes on to keep grinding. Later, the boys get back together with Pencil gone. Kat is now level 40 and Mur is level 42, which makes her happy with their progress. They are ahead of schedule because they have made so much progress in such a short time. Katso tries to tell Ruro how little he knows, but Ruro shuts him up. Katso was impressed by Emo's strength, and Ruro tells him that his cute little rabbit friend is already level 56. Penlon had to use an expensive tent that can also be used as a safe point because they are still short on time. Penelgon then tells them that they need to meet someone, but they can only do it at this time of night. This person is a unique NPC named Sitsuna, and they need to talk to her to get Weatherman to go somewhere else. We see this Susuna person singing by a tree at night. Thank you for watching my summary. Join my free newsletter. This video has a link to a channel that you can support if you want to. They then went through the prismatic forest. When they get to the spot, Pineal Gain tells them they need to find a dark spot among all the glowing moss. When she presses on it, a secret passage opens up. Aro is mad that he missed this area when he went through the forest, but Pineal Gain tells him that it's just luck that he found it this time. She just happened to find this place by accident. Ruro looks down on people who don't have as much luck as him, but Kel doesn't like the stupid face he's making. And Penelon tells them to stop being so funny now that they've hit their goal. There are beautiful flowers here, but the team thinks it's pretty creepy that they can hear someone singing nearby. Kat points out the girl who is singing. Because this girl is clear, our bird brain main character wonders if it's a bug in this god-tier game cat. He feels bad for his trash game-loving friend because his mind always thinks bugs over plot reasons. Penelgon greets this NPC named Situna and notices how she is dressed. Don't look like they belong in a fantasy world. He wants to know if she is from the setting's ancient age, the divinity. If so, she might have the key to the one-of-a-kind situation he made pop. Ruro starts to introduce himself by calling himself a man of 100 skills, but Penelon cuts him off and calls her friends Stooge 1 and Stowe 2. They are her ace in the hole to finally stop Weatherman. Name them Emil and Cattell, but R wants another chance to play his part. She knows her new team doesn't look like much right now, but Penal God plans to train them up before the battle. The Ghost Lady then says some strange things because she has never met anyone with Sui's presence. She used this phrase twice to refer to Ruro. Along with that, he has Cinderella's with him. Satuna just says that he makes her think of someone she knew a long time ago. so child Ruro has no idea what she means. She thanks him for bringing back memories that had been lost for a long time, but Crow is still. A screen tells them to start a new, different scenario because it's time to get down to business. The guys agree, so Satuna tells them that Weathermon was her true love. They had a small misunderstanding, and she has since died. Weatherman has been a guard his whole life. Sasuna has no idea how much time has passed since then, because the next thing she knew, she was in this ghostly state. Sasuna doesn't blame M for how her life ended because she thinks that should be in the past. People shouldn't hold someone back in the present or the future. She can't stand the thought of Weatherman being tied to her past. Weatherman used the spell she cast to surround her grave with a wall and do other complicated things to make it impossible for anyone to get to. But on the night of a new moon, when the moon isn't shining, a crack appears in the barrier. Kat says it very bluntly, and they decide that all they have to do to fight is jump through the crack. Weathermon Satona has told them everything and just wants to be buried as soon as possible. The Penelon tells her that they are not like the losers who tried before and promises that they will end all this pain. Kato and Ruro are shocked because this pencil gun is not at all like the pencil gun they saw before. They know how pencils work. They know that she once pulled an NPC king behind her carriage to trick her enemies. She is also the one who took the pencil and tied an NPC princess to a chandelier to get players to try to save her. People around her can't believe she's having a nice conversation with an NPC right now. They joke that they wonder if she has gained a soul, but Peniel Gone makes them pay for laughing at her Peniel Gone wishes. They don't have time to PK her a lot because they need to get ready for the fight with Weathermon. Peniel Gone shows that she does like to play the game straight. There are times when Setsuna is interested in her story. Pentagon almost seems embarrassed when she says this, but Rur doesn't think it's at all. Fine. He thinks that taking a game seriously is a good thing because everything is more fun when you do it seriously. Kuro is always looking for a way to make fun of his friend. So he says that Kei was also a pro gamer, but he still hasn't found a single unique thing for himself and self. Kate agrees and says that it's kind of his job since he's a pro gamer. The guys start to fight, and Pylon stops them by laughing at them for telling her that they are just as stupid as she is. Pylon then gets serious and tells them that they are facing a monster that makes players level down to level 50. They have never done that before in a boss battle, but she is sure they can beat him. They all agreed to take their mission seriously and work together. Later, Ruro wakes up and says that he has been working very hard every day since he met Setsuna. His nights have been late, but he finally got to level 51. Kat is now at level 46. From now on, he needs to work on his skills. Emo told them that there was a skill garden in Rabbit where they could link skills. Usaruro remembers that Panelon told them that their skills are the only thing that will matter in this fight, so he is determined to get better. Then Ruro's mother Ake greets him. She's happy that he's been following through on their deal over the summer. Okura says he didn't really have a choice because he didn't want her to log him out of the game physically. Russell's younger sister, Rumi, is very upset that their mother keeps her pet bugs in the kitchen. Rumi sees that Russell is looking at a model in her magazine and says that the model is Toa and is the best model ever. What does this Toe name have to do with the Satsuna name? We found out that Pencilgon is Toe. The roommate says that she has been modeling on the side, but she needs to ask her dad to get her more attention. As luck would have it, their dad comes home and shows off the huge fish he caught. He goes by the name Shenji, and his kids are upset that they have to eat fish for every meal for a while. This is what they agreed to do. As a rule, they have to eat and talk as a family at church breakfast and dinner every Sunday. If there wasn't this rule, they would all get lost in their own hobbies and never see each other again. Shenji needs to clean. He wants to do the fish right away, but Rumi begs him to do it in the kitchen. People outside of his family may think they are strange, but Ruro thinks they have just found a way to get away with it. After thinking about it, Ruro decides it's time to go back into Cell F. With only 2 weeks to go, the battle with Weathermon is going to be tough, especially after what Penelgon told him. As long as Weatherman is alive, it will attack with single digital frame attacks, instant death moves, and area attacks. But this information helped him understand that the best place to practice would be in the trash game, where bugs make all attacks happen very quickly. Berserk Online Passion is the name of the game. When Ruro, also known as Burp, comes into this game, he says that it's always so empty. Since no one else is there, Ruro chooses to fight the last boss in the story mode. Just then, he meets a player named Dragonfly out of the blue. It sounds like this kid is really excited to fight, but he says he is new to the game. He's still not done with the last boss, and he'd love it if Ruro could help him. Since this game is pretty old, Ruro can't believe this kid is new and calls him. An endangered species, Ruro knows that this fight isn't good for his training, but he can't pass up the chance to fight such a rare animal. Since this is a trash game, they both agree that glitches can be used in their fight. Ruro checks out this kid and finds that he has a good build all around. A lot of glitches happen with this type, but Ruro thinks he won't know how to use them. Before the fight even starts, Dragonfly charges in and shocks Ruro. Ruro tells himself that this kid is just starting out, so he probably won't use normal strategies. Finally, Ruro is even more shocked when the kid pulls his fist back just before he... With this move, a player can make a bug that makes her arm stretch out like rubber. If it hits, it's called a POW bunker and does 2 hits with double the damage. Dragonfly is shocked to see that he missed. Ruro says he used a bug move called Yo-Yo, which changes a player's avatar's texture and hitbox right away. Ruro agrees that this kid can use some basic bugs, but he tells him that there's a lot more to this game than that. Burp is full of bugs that players have found through trial and error, and he's going to show them everything. Thanks for watching. Please sign up for my newsletter. This video has a link to a channel that you can support if you want to. Dragonfly's fight with Rakurou gets a lot of attention, and everyone is curious about whether Dragonfly is really a new player. It's hard to believe that this kid is going up against the famous Ruro and wants to win at least one round, but Ruro just beats the kid up, like he is. Luffy's Gatling punch makes Dragonfly lose another round. Ruro shows off his awesome quick draw fist. Fighting style is pretty much unbeatable, but Dragonfly wants one more chance. It will be the best of 3, and they both agreed to a full-on bug-and-fill battle. Ruro is upset to see someone this stupid. The kid tries the same move again, but this time Dragonfly shocks him with a dodge Ruro. The kid is impressed that the other guy learned to time the yo-yo glitch with his opponent's attacks, and he's glad to be learning from him. Also, Ruro finds that nice, but he should have been training for the fight against Weatherman, and he wishes he was fighting a stronger enemy. Dragonfly can tell that he isn't paying attention, so she uses the time to shock Ruro with a strong attack. Ruro did really well for his time because the kid was able to close in by pulling back his glitched-out leg and attacking with the speed. Ruro knows about this attack already. He does say that Dragonfly's use of the attack, which is called the Flying Smash, shows how little he knows about the game. The Fly Smash move is strong, but it takes a very long time to recover from. Ruro then shows how to do the move. He should have said called the Pile Bunker. When Roll uses the fist, it's an attack and Dragonfly is pushed back with it, so escape is not an option. When Dragonfly charges, he does so face first, but Ruro only plans to counter with a quick draw. The other players can't figure out what Dragonfly is doing because he uses a glitch. This kid's avatar is really going crazy, and Ruro is shocked to see that this kid set off 2 flying smashes at the same time. Ruro has never seen that before, but he is sure that his quick draw could still beat it. So he lets it hit him, and everyone is shocked when Dragonfly finally wins a round. People who saw what happened still don't understand it, but Dragonfly is still proud of what he did. Nerds who play this burp game every day should get together and talk about the move Dragonfly just used. Dragonfly was able to stack gauge moves because both fists hit boxes in some way. This attack is not like any other known glitch attack, they say. They decided that Dragonfly's attack will be made official if a test team can copy it. For now, though, Ruro will surprise everyone by congratulating 8's Dragonfly for finding a new bug without being told to do so. Move Dragonfly doesn't know what to say, but the Nerd Squad thinks this is important enough to give Dragonfly the honor of naming the bug move. As Dragonfly racks, he tries to come up with a name, but tells him to take his time because there are still more rounds to play. As a trade, Ruro offers Dragonfly to show him a new move in exchange for another move from him. It's a pretty strange bug that can only be used when the round starts, but round 2 is about to begin. When Ruro shockingly uses the bug move called Doppelganger, it splits him in half. Ruro then says that he had a hard time coming up with a name for it when he first learned it. He says that the great thing about this game is that you can always learn something new once you think you know everything. That's why he always comes back every once in a while, even when a lot of people leave the game. While Dragonfly fights back, Ruro attacks with his double. However, we quickly learn that Dragonfly has lost 2 rounds in a row. He thinks it was unfair that Rinkyuro's clone held him while Rinkyuro's killed him, but that's how the game is played. There is no doubt that Ruro agrees that the attack does get a little crazy when the clone is taken over by AI. Dragonfly is gracious when he loses, as shown by the fact that he thanks Rakurou for giving him time even though he lost. The newbie likes him. He says he'll come up with a cool name for his bug move, but let's hope it's not doppelganger attack. After this, Ruro says that a friend of his found a really scary bug, and Ruro isn't even sure he can do it, but Dragonfly is excited for Ruro to try it on him. His friend in question is Katsu, and we get a sneak peek at what he is up to. Katsu is very angry. The crazy pencil was taken away by that Ruro, leaving him alone. She tells him to shut up and keep training back in Rabbit. Tuzararo is thrilled to be back in Cell F and plans to play it all day with no breaks. So of course the loyal emo goes with him. He tells her that they are going to try out some skill and combo stuff today. Keitel told him about Ruro. He doesn't know if they're going in the right direction. Email, on the other hand, can't believe that this stupid dumb ran off without knowing where the skill garden was. More importantly, Email is surprised to see that Ruro is so energized because he was so tired the night before. The Birdface explains that the switch is easy and that Ruro is excited about finding new things. Emo shows him the way to the skill garden and tells him that the one they're going to, in Rabbit Tuza, has a lot more options than the ones in towns. This is a secret though, so Little Bunny wants the stupid bird to keep it. So Rur is happy to have a secret advantage, so he goes along with it. Finally, they get to this very crowded skill garden where another bunny greets them. Elk is her name, and she's glad to see Emil with her friend Birdman. It dawns on Ruro that he will never be able to get away from the constant bird names. But he made that happen. Emil tells Elle that she is her big sister and that the 3 of them are sister and brother. Ruro thinks it's strange that she has so many siblings because she thinks the 2 pink bunnies look a bit alike. Ross says he wants to combine their skills, and Elk, thankfully, says she's great at that kind of thing. That's why her dad put her in charge of it, and she's there. Now, Ruro makes fun of her like a jerk by repeating the way she talks for some reason and asks her to show him how to combine his skills. Behavior Elk agrees to do it even though it seems strange to Birdbrain. Rule says that he has been quickly advancing through levels, which shows that his skills have really grown. He tells us that many of his Link skills have changed since the last time we saw them. Elk shows that combining skills at a higher level does lead to better skills in the end compared to combining skills at a lower level. Ruro starts to think about whether he should max out the skills first, but in the end, he decides that he wants to clean up his list of skills by combining them. We see him finally decide which skill combinations he wants to make later. Ruro pays for the recipe, and Elle goes to work on it. She has to wait, though, because our bird hero wants to double-check his stats. He is now level 51, but he had to raise them to get his Moonblades. He never had the chance to raise his vitality then. He is even more of a glass cannon now, and his defenses are still very weak. Elk tells Moro that she is done, and he is shocked when he sees what she has brought out. In response, Elk says that there are 6 combinations at once, which is too many. But as soon as Ro drinks it all down, he will learn how to use the common right away. But this thing looks really dangerous, and Mare can't believe he has to drink this gross stuff. There's a branch in this thing, and he thinks that he would never do that if he wasn't being silly. The rabbits tell him to stop being a wimp and chug because he is in a game. The girls watch in awe as Ruro pours the stuff down his huge bird beak. In the end, Ruro finishes the gross liquid and is amazed by the outcome. Just like she said, he learned all of the skills right away. He now has 6 new skills from the ones he linked, plus 9 skills he learned or changed as he leveled up. And his little bunny friends tell him how proud they are. He hopes at least one of them is really strong. He quickly sells him more because Elk is a great sales rabbit. She then says that players can only get skilled Grims in Rabbit Tuza, as if that sales pitch wasn't good enough already. He gets a discount because he is friends with Emil. Emil figures out what's going on and tries to warn Ruro that her sister is really greedy, but Elk quickly stops her sister from telling everyone how greedy she is. Rule tells his little bunny friend not to be afraid of merch, though. That sounds great to Elk. A player can only buy in certain places like Rabbit Yusa, and he's always willing to pay high prices. So like a real greedy salesperson, she starts by asking him how much he is willing to spend. Ruro tells the little gold rabbit that he has 80,000 to spend. So she shows him what she has that costs about that much. Roll doesn't seem to get what's going on because he is shocked to see that everything still costs at least 30,000 won after the discount. It took a long time, but her finally starts to think that she might be trying to scam him. Ela is a seasoned businesswoman who puts pressure on our boy right away by asking him if he's really going to waste the special offer. Rinkuro's weak bird brain gives in to the pressure and agrees to buy a few things afterward. Our boy is broker then watched an anime recap and is upset that he can't afford to buy some waste armor. He needs to make more money before the Weathermen fight. Just then, Ruro remembers that he needs to meet with his team, so all the useful emails help him get to the meeting on time. Penelon is glad to see that they are on time. She is in a better mood than usual this time, which she says is because she has decided how to fight Weatherman. It's going to be 2 weeks. There is one problem. Only her clan or Shirai know what conditions need to be met in order to fight Weatherman. However, they have been using the unique monster system, which lets players level up and improve their PvP skills by fighting these monsters, to get ready for the fight before Pencil Gong can figure out what's wrong. Ruro already knows when they're going to fight. They are very likely to run into Ashurakai members. Katso asks Penelon why she can't just work something out with them, pointing out that she is part of the clan. Penelon says it's impossible because Ashurakai actively oppose the idea of defeating Weatherman. Ruro doesn't understand what she meant, so Pentagon finally explains what she meant. Everyone hates Arai because they kill other players, and there was just an update that gives players who have killed other players a special status. There is a reward for a normal player who kills a player killer. What's more, this player will also get the right to all items and gear. It looked like the P was carrying everything, even things that are stored. People at a high level, like those in a shuai, often find pretty rare items, which makes them like walking treasure chests. This made a new type of player called a PKK killer. The Ashurai found ways to make it so that these PK killers could not do as much damage to them. However, someone could attack their hideout and get around all of that. The guys are shocked when they figure out what she thought and where she was going with this. Pelon is part of the Ashurkai, so she knows exactly where their hideout is. She tells them that the group of cowards has become a bother to her now. She thought that they should go squash because of this. Sharing Kai's look into 2 weeks into the future shows that Shangri-La Frontier will be getting some changes for the summer. Today is also the exact date that our heroes will fight the Weathermen and the Tumbu Guard. We'll be watching until the update is over. Thanks for watching. What I said. Sign up for my free newsletter if you want to show your support for the channel. The link is in the description.